He lived a mundane life until the memories flooded back. He was the demon sovereign, the nightmare who leveled nations and crushed armies. Most people would have spiraled into a panic, but he simply shrugged and kept grinding. Zero chills, just pure efficiency. Now he's clearing dungeons, fusing demonic energy with martial arts mastery. But can he contain the darkness before it consumes him? The legend began in modern Seoul, when a massive tower pierced the sky, triggering the first cataclysmic shift in human history. Gates tore open, monsters flooded the streets, and civilization crumbled until the first awakened rose to fight back. Guilds and hunters built a new world order, but just as hope returned, the second cataclysm struck with even more fury. A cosmic war erupted between the radiant realm of Elysium and the hellish depths of Pandemonium. Deimos, the ruthless demon king, led a demonic invasion of Earth only to be met by the divine host of Elysium. Earth became a slaughterhouse. Then a wild card emerged, someone belonging to neither the heavens nor the abyss. The ultimate savior, a legend among heroes, wielded a power that defied all logic and reason. He annihilated the demon king, ending the slaughter and ushering in 30 years of fragile peace. Decades later in Seoul, a young boy gazes in awe at a massive monument in the National Museum of Art. "Look, Mom, it's our hero." Nearby, a friend asks, "Big day, isn't it, Min-chul?" Our protagonist, Min-chul, stands by the statue, scrolling through his phone and dreading another useless group project. Professors really don't get how pointless these assignments are. And on a day off of all times, he watches the crowds with a faint smirk, realizing the museum is absolutely packed with families. It's a total field trip vibe. Every kid there is staring at the hero, dreaming of following in his footsteps. Min-chul feels like nothing's changed. As a kid, he knew every inch of this monument by heart. 2 decades ago, he stood here with his class looking up in pure wonder at the hero's towering height. Was the guy actually a giant? Young Min-chul couldn't believe someone could be that massive. Their guide gathered the kids, explaining that this hero possessed strength that transcended even the top-ranked hunters. He was the shield that saved the world. Without his bravery, Earth would still be a burning wasteland. But victory came at a price. The hero perished after the second cataclysm, and this statue was built in his honor, a reminder of the ultimate sacrifice. They were told to live every day with hearts full of gratitude. Young Min-chul was shook. This was the strongest man alive. He swore he'd reach that level one day. Excited voices filled the air as the kids asked if hard work alone could turn them into hunters. "How do we sign up? Do good grades help?" The teacher could only offer a nervous, awkward smile. He had no answers back then. Now the adult Min-chul finally understands that look of hesitation. He realized late that being a hunter isn't just about effort. It takes raw talent and a massive stroke of luck. They were too innocent to know how impossible their dreams were. It was a brutal reality check for his younger soul. Suddenly, his classmates rush over, surprised to find him waiting at the rendezvous point so early. "You're barely on time," Min-chul deadpans. "One more minute and I would have ghosted you from the credit list." As they line up for research, a girl whispers Min-chul's the department's absolute savage when it comes to grades. He deleted Junsuk's name last term. Yoon-mi was literally sobbing in public over it. "He's hot, but his soul is stone cold," another adds. Min-chul sighs, "I can literally hear you guys." He ignores them, eyeing the massive queue, waiting to see the legendary weapon on display. Weekdays don't matter, the place is swamped. People still worship the man who saved their world long ago. To end the nightmare war between gods and demons, the hero threw away his own life without a second thought. He drove his blade into the demon king's heart. Today marked the debut of that weapon, Kalith, the divine sword. "Next group, please enter," the staff calls out. Min-chul and his team step inside the exhibit. At least the report will be easy. Then they see it, the holy blade of legend shimmering before them. Min-chul blinks. That's the hero's sword. It looked eerily different from what he expected. As he draws closer, the sword suddenly levitates. He freezes, wondering if his eyes are playing tricks on him. It moved. Was this some holographic show? No, the blade was actually hovering in mid-air. In a flash, the divine steel pierces his chest. The hero's phantom appears, and Min-chul's voice drops into a dark, demonic rasp. "Excellent. I am the Demon Lord." Imagine finding a warrior this legendary in such a forgotten corner of the universe. His blade skills were honestly top tier. He demanded a name, leaving Min-chul paralyzed with dread. Was he actually Deimos, the legendary Demon Lord? The thought was terrifying. The hero stayed silent, burying his blade even deeper. The Demon Lord just smirked. "Giving me the silent treatment now," he mocked. He had to stay sharp. Their paths would cross again. Suddenly, the vision shattered, leaving Min-chul collapsing to the cold floor. His skull felt like it was detonating. Moments later, the chaotic shouts of his frantic classmates pulled him back to reality. He sat up, completely dazed. Had he just blacked out? His brain was thumping against his skull like a drum. "Are you okay?" a student cried out. He had just dropped like a stone. Should they call 911? Min-chul just pointed toward the artifact. He stuttered, asking why that sword had floated up to impale him. They stared back, completely lost by his wild claims. Apparently, he had stared at the blade and then just folded. Did he fall asleep on his feet? Minchul was spiraling in shock. Was it a hallucination? It felt too visceral to be fake. Then looking at the divine sword, cryptic visions flooded his mind. 23 years ago, the Demon King descended to bring the apocalypse. He was the supreme ruler of one of the four great realms, Pandemonium, the supreme commander Damos. Why here? That was the name he carried in his previous life, the life of a monster. Later, the class finished their reports and scored high marks. Everyone was hyped, celebrating their success and praising his hard work. Getting an A from that nightmare of a teacher was a miracle. But Min Chol looked like a ghost, completely drained of energy. He forced a weak reply. A classmate frowned, worried, because he had been acting strange ever since that weird museum trip. Seriously, do you need a doctor? They asked. He insisted he was fine, claiming he just had too much on his mind. He tried to brush it off. Suddenly, a friend shouted, asking where he was going. Weren't they celebrating the end of exams? He was not in the mood for drinks. Something was definitely up. Min Chol walked away knowing that some party was the least of his worries. His sanity was hanging by a thread. He was supposed to be a normal, low-key guy, not the freaking reincarnation of a demon king. When the demonic legions invaded Earth, the carnage was absolute. Countless lives were snuffed out in the chaos. He spent his whole life loathing that monster, only to realize that the villain was actually him. His old body was gone forever. Min Chol had not unlocked any cheat skills yet, so why were these memories flooding back? Plus, one massive question haunted him. If he was the invincible demon king, how did he even die? His human form back then was just a temporary vessel. After death, his soul should have snapped back to his true form. And then there was that legendary hero. That man was perfectly healthy, yet he died alongside him. No obsessing over this was a waste of time. It changed nothing. He needed to focus on the now. The bridge between Damos and Minchul started with one thing, the flow of mana. For high-dimensional beings, sensing mana is as natural as breathing. But for those in lower realms, it is a near impossible feat. He still remembered the technique. It required deep, rhythmic breathing and absolute mental focus. He closed his eyes and began. Following the ancient steps, a glowing system prompt suddenly flickered to life. He had successfully sensed the hidden mana around him. All requirements were met. Now, the real challenge began. He had to slowly reconstruct his mastery over this raw magical energy. More windows flashed. Awakening sequence initiated. He was officially bridging the gap and accessing the legendary Akashic records. The chronicles were scanning for a skill that perfectly matched his soul's frequency. Status updated. Min Chol had officially unlocked a unique player ability. He stood there, completely floored by the sudden power-up. Is it really that easy? He whispered. He slumped onto a bench, his mind racing between his past life and this new reality. Being the reincarnated Demon King was stressful enough, but an awakened too. Talk about overkill. A new notification appeared. Player status unlocked. Min Chol could now access his personal data. This was his unique edge. Status window, he commanded, eager to see his potential. He caught on quickly. It was time for a reality check. He spoke the command, bracing for the results. Twin windows hovered before him, revealing an S-rank tier and a strange limitation. His unique ability, information check. This skill could scan anything. His karma was apparently so massive, it could literally rewrite the fundamental laws of the world. By slaying monsters and harvesting points, he could bend reality itself. So I level up by hunting, like a video game. He realized that dimensions are ranked by the weight of their karma. Higher beings simply possess more fundamental power. Their immense karma gives them a godlike advantage over lower world creatures. That power gap is what defines their entire existence. This massive divide creates a literal abyss. To cross into lower realms, high-tier beings are forced to inhabit a temporary host body. It is a cosmic safety net to keep the balance. These are the absolute laws of the multiverse. The Demon King used a substitute, but could he actually rewrite these rules? If so, Min Chul might just shatter every limit. Min Chul is just a regular guy now. The Demon King is gone, and the war between heaven and hell is officially over. Reparations were made, but if the traumatized public finds out the Demon King is back, everything will burn. He has to survive as Min Chul. No choice but to exploit his past secrets to thrive in this life. Once he regains his god-tier strength, he'll ensure humanity survives. It's a redemption arc, basically. Besides, he's always craved power. Saving the world while leveling up, that's the ultimate win-win scenario. Step 1. Mana cultivation. Damos's ancient memories are overflowing with secret methods to boost his magic reserves. Deep in the midnight shadows, Min Chul carves a complex rune into the earth to siphon massive amounts of energy. Ping A system notification confirms it, a rank S magic circle perfectly executed with zero margin for error. This forbidden geometry belonged to the Demon Kings. It's designed to forcibly condense raw mana from the world. It pulls energy from the atmosphere, but right now it's dormant. The engine is there, but it lacks fuel. Time for a catalyst. The moment he drops a magic item into the center, the air begins to hum. Ancient runes flare to life. As the system confirms an E-rank mana stone has ignited the ritual's core, the circle roars to life. Magic output skyrockets by 450% for the next 5 minutes. Min Chul drops into a meditative stance. The mana is so dense, it's shimmering in the air like liquid light. The stage is set for pranayama. He must inhale the raw essence of nature and lock it within his soul. Basic breathing is child's play. He needs the star system, a method to forge a miniature universe inside his mind. In his past life, Deimos forged a pact with a celestial being and traversed the legendary world of Murim. There he mastered a forbidden spiritual art known only to the high priests of the most vicious demonic cults. The ultimate technique, the star system. Eons of combat allowed him to refine various martial arts into one absolute crushing force that transcended demonic magic. Martial arts were his secret weapon for conquering the demon realm. Naturally, he's sticking with what works. He channels a flood of starlight into his veins, illuminating the entire clearing. The circle glows with blinding intensity. One slip in concentration, and this cosmic power would shred his mortal frame. A violent torrent of mana erupts, swirling around him like a celestial storm. If he stops now, he'll lose his mind or explode. A human body shouldn't hold this much cosmic heat. But he's no ordinary human. His Demon King's soul thrives on agony. Slowly, the system announces the ritual is over. The star system technique has officially reached level 1. His physical limits are already beginning to shatter. Strength and dexterity both surge by 5 points each. Constitution and stamina gain 4, while magic jumps by a massive 20. Rank EX Star System, Pranayama. A transcendental breathing art that crafts a literal cosmos within the user's psyche. It funnels the raw power of glowing nebulae directly into his mind, to be wielded at will. Min Chul wakes up completely numb, wondering if his hard-earned techniques count as official hunter skills. A new prompt appears. The celestial powers of light and shadow are beginning to fuse. Total opposites merge, birthing a terrifying new energy that defies the laws of nature. Mana is just a fraction of the universe's true power. He stares at the screen, totally baffled. Back home, he checks his stats again. This isn't just magic, it's something far more cosmic and ancient. He's never seen power like this. It's on a completely different level of existence. The star system requires balance. Before, as a demon, he could only harness the energy of darkness. But if he can master both the light and the dark nebulae through this breathing technique, he won't just be a hero, he'll be the strongest entity across every single dimension. He eventually heads to the Hunter Registration Center. To work legally, he needs that official license. The building is buzzing. People are either crying tears of joy or staring in shock at their results. Min Chul just sighs. He looks at his report and sees a pathetic row of E ranks. He deadpans, asking the clerk if there's an F rank available. The poor worker looks totally mortified. "Sorry, sir," they stammer, "but E rank is literally the lowest value we have." Our protagonist stood there clueless, wondering why the clerk looked so flustered. Did she catch a glimpse of his stats? He scanned the document intently. To his surprise, his signature trait was listed as undefined. Had the mighty association actually failed to gauge his true potential? It seemed the cosmic force within him was beyond their measurement. Pointing at the paper, he asked about the mysterious letters tucked inside, parentheses. Gesturing to the status column, she explained those symbols represented the ceiling of his latent growth and hidden powers. Inside the perilous gates, awakened ones evolve by slaying monsters. However, there is always a hard limit to that evolution. That bracketed number marks the finish line. He realized then most hunters are born with a fixed cap on their destiny. But for him, those rules were irrelevant. The clerk mentioned rare legends who supposedly break through the association's narrow predictions. They grasp a power far beyond any mortal gauge. She added that while the tower is too dangerous, low-level zones still need him. He shouldn't let his low rank get him down. He offered a polite nod, feeling weirdly touched. Was she actually trying to cheer him up? Little did she know, he wasn't bothered in the slightest. Stepping out, he saw a pack of guild headhunters prowling for fresh meat. They were swarming the association grounds, desperate for talent. He watched them work tirelessly, baiting the newly awakened with empty promises. 2 scouts initially hailed him with excitement, but their smiles instantly vanished the moment they scanned his pathetic aura. Word of his trash, E-rank status must have spread like wildfire. Fine by him, at least he wouldn't have to deal with their annoying pitches. With every stat, save for magic, sitting at rock bottom, he was nothing but a low-tier weakling to be discarded by the elite. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. A generic notification popped up, the Hunter Association officially welcoming their newest, lowest-ranked member. His registration was finally confirmed. It was a standard automated blast sent to every dreamer who signs their life away to the association. In this world, the association's seal is the only thing standing between a civilian and a professional monster slayer. The upcoming exam would judge his worthiness to enter the tower gates. Location: Seoul Song-san District 240 Wildcap Road. Scheduled for the second Monday. Was this his final trial for a license? The clock was ticking. Only 10 days remained. Power leveling would have to wait. He knew the drill. The exam was a brutal random test of combat prowess and survival instincts. It was designed to weed out the weak. With his current pathetic numbers, he was basically a guaranteed failure in their eyes. To survive the trial, he needed to overhaul his raw physical specs. Without hesitation, he hit the pavement, beginning his grueling grind. Blue system holograms began flickering, pinging every time his muscles grew stronger. Gasping for air, he pushed his body to the brink. He recalled the secret: true power starts with the breath. His memories from a previous existence were his ultimate cheat code. If he forged his vessel correctly, this exam would be a walk in the park. By day, he shattered his physical limiters under the sun. By night, he meditated, refining the legendary star system technique to perfection. 10 days of this hell would be more than enough. Eventually, he pulled up his status. Strength was now 21, agility 20, and his constitution had climbed to 16. Endurance sat at 18, while universal power hit 49. With energy at 637, he couldn't help but grin. Those glowing numbers were the proof of his progress. A week of blood, sweat, and absolute agony had finally paid off. Next up, the star system technique. He visualized the swirling cosmic clouds where light and shadow collided in his core. When these polar forces clash, they birth universal energy. In his old life, he was shackled only to the power of the abyss. Back then, reaching the second star took a whole year. Now he'd achieved it in a fortnight while bolstering his physique. He was finally ready to unlock the 7-star Rogue Fist and the Cloud Sliding Step. The first was a gritty, foundational art. Born from the street fighting of nameless warriors, it consisted of 7 lethal stances fueled by his rising inner energy. He needed to harden his limbs to handle the strain. Its simple fluid movements made it the perfect base to weave with other arts. It was the ideal weapon for his current level. After hours of grueling practice, the system finally acknowledged his new combat skill. 7-star Rogue Fist. Classification: Martial Art. Rank C. Required: one who wields the mana of the cosmos. By channeling energy into his limbs, he could ignite his latent potential and deliver strikes with terrifying precision. His destructive force would skyrocket in an instant. At the 1st-star level, his physical reinforcement increased by 10%. It drains 4 energy units per second, but boosts his striking power and speed by 50% upon activation. He wondered how the world system would log his ancient techniques. Just as he suspected, it categorized his hard work as skills. Though a C-rank fist technique was just a shadow compared to his star system art, it was a solid start for a rookie. He craved the god-tier arts of his prime, but he knew better than to rush. Skipping the fundamentals was a death sentence. Without a solid base, his own power would tear him apart. Now it was time to test the cloud gliding step, a new path. For his current weak vessel, this movement art was a perfect fit. It was time to walk as light as a phantom. It lacks raw offensive power, yet excels in counter-strikes and unshakable poise. A system alert flickered, revealing the rank B martial art cloud gliding step. This forbidden art manipulates cosmic mana through movements as fluid as drifting mists. The technique grants a rock-solid foundation, boosting movement velocity by 50%. It surges physical strength by 10%, while mitigating 1/5 of incoming damage. Consuming 2 units of cosmic energy per second, he decided to initiate training. Upon activation, the system interface pinged, confirming his movement attributes had spiked. His speed soared by 50%, draining 2 points of universal mana every second. Stunned, he realized this surpassed his memories, his body blurring with impossible haste. This was merely the 1st-star level, yet it rivaled 4th-star velocity. Beyond sheer speed, his equilibrium remained flawless, no matter how fast he lunged. Were techniques fueled by universal energy truly this superior to his former dark magic? Catching sight of a massive tree, he decided it was time for a test. With a smirk, he unleashed a single devastating blow to gauge his new power. The trunk detonated into thousands of splinters, leaving him reeling at such raw destruction. Reclaiming his past life's peak suddenly felt like a walk in the park. Glancing at his bloodied knuckles, he realized another bare-handed strike would shatter his frame. Restraint was mandatory. Later, he arrived at the Interstellar Alliance's towering headquarters. He bypassed security using his newly awakened registration to enter the main hall. A perky receptionist greeted him, offering the standard corporate gratitude for his visit. She asked for his business, but he found the constant chatter incredibly grating. This was the elite hub of intergalactic warrior merchants, a top-tier military superpower. They were cosmic profiteers, selling forbidden artifacts to anyone with enough gold. Their reach was so absolute that every known species relied on their services. They were an untouchable titan, an organization that nobody dared to cross. Simply put, they were greedy vultures masking their massive profits behind hollow neutrality. When he demanded the branch manager, the girl's professional mask finally slipped. He repeated his request, stating his identification was simply the letter R. That code should be enough to summon the boss, and she scrambled instantly. Moments later, Marchand, the Alliance director himself, came scurrying through the lobby. Nearby, hunters whispered in shock, sensing a massive high-stakes deal was unfolding. He approached the protagonist, bowing deeply to the rare Code R elite visitor. Begging for forgiveness, he offered to personally escort him to the interdimensional vault. As the dwarf led the way, the main character activated his scanning ability. The system identified him as Marchand, a 31-year-old dwarven merchant. Possessing a strength stat of 103, his unique gift was money sense. This innate talent allowed him to sniff out legendary investments with absolute certainty. He looked like a weathered old soul, burdened by a century of trade. Yet by dwarf standards, he was a young prodigy to lead this branch. His talent was undeniable, even if all dwarves looked identical to the protagonist. Eventually they reached the vault, a place where time and space meant nothing. While most trades take years, this warehouse used advanced tech to bypass reality. It was the Alliance's crown jewel, though. He remembered hating their steep fees. He never expected to rely on their overpriced services in this new life. Security was absolute for the 24 secret elites. He pressed his hand to the scanner, inputting the magical code R. The seals hissed open, confirming his status. Inside sat a single legacy item. If he had known reincarnation was real, he would have stashed an entire treasury. Was it pure luck he couldn't take this relic back to Earth? He simply left it here to wait. He lifted the mystical artifact, examining it closely. To anyone else, it looked like a mundane street pebble. Just another rock underfoot. Black Star awaken. Suddenly, the small stone split open, revealing its true form. A legendary relic appeared. A system prompt flashed. The Black Star has chosen a new master. Synchronization finished. Since the owner changed, all previous karma accumulated on the item has been wiped clean. Black Star, rank normal, type weapon, durability, infinite, a divine blade forged from a dying star's essence. It manifests ancient legends. The wielder can morph its shape instantly. Changing its form recalibrates the user's stats. Every ability adjusts to its new look. This artifact is indestructible, though a powerful seal still remains. He knew it would be sealed. The Black Star's power scales directly with the owner's own karma level. Currently, his cultivation is weaker than a minor demon's, making it impossible to gather karma for now. He can't tap into its full potential yet, but its basic functions are more than enough. With a smirk, he morphed the artifact into a standard sword, masking its true, terrifying power. This would make the hunter exam a total breeze. For a master of various martial arts, it is perfection. The ultimate weapon. Later, the merchant briefed his secretary Ellie about everything from his private office. The VIP, she asked, doubting his strength. The merchant insisted I saw his true nature myself. No doubt. Why would a VIP visit a lower dimension? Perhaps a higher being was hiding their identity. They likely used a proxy body on Earth, carefully concealing their overwhelming cosmic power from the world. He sensed a massive payday. Ellie joked that his greedy merchant instincts were as sharp as ever. Cash makes him a client, the merchant shrugged. He needed an elite worker to handle the heavy lifting. He didn't want to burn out. Ellie confirmed, I will watch him closely, but won't start a probe yet. She would stop any info leaks. The dwarf nodded, fully trusting her to handle the secret. High-tier species were watching Earth closely now. His hard-won rank near the tower was only the first step. Earning this position took everything, but it wasn't enough. With this client's help, he would climb even higher. His rise was certain. Finally, exam day arrived. Our protagonist reached the massive Hunter License Testing Center. This place is massive, he noted. A staffer yelled, Welcome to the official Hunter Proving Grounds. Today was the 50th annual exam. Holding his ticket, the MC felt the intense pressure of the crowd. Weren't they supposed to wait in the lounge? He looked around, already wandering off the beaten path. Entering the hall, reporters suddenly swarmed, rushing toward the geniuses Shin Yumi and Yu Song-woo instead. They begged for interviews. The MC was baffled watching the chaotic media circus surrounding these two rookies. Are they celebrities? He wondered. Rumors claimed Yumi was actually the legendary Ambassador Vanheim's secret daughter. Word is, she is a spirit medium. And Song-woo, he already signed with the #1 ranked Waran Guild. He crushed their swordsmanship trials. Waran only takes the best. His stats must be absolutely insane. Everyone bet on them winning. Suddenly, the staff announced, the examination begins in exactly 10 minutes. Time to move. Every candidate must collect their official Hunter watch from the kiosks immediately. Check your watch for the designated entry gate. Soon, a flood of hopefuls entered the artificial jungle. He frowned, scanning the trees. Is this entire forest man-made? The other adventurers looked equally confused. A jungle test, they muttered. A voice boomed, announcing the official rules for the 55th license exam. The testing criteria were finally live. The core discipline for this year was simple: absolute survival. Score 100 points to pass. Check your watches for real-time scoring data and the map. Everyone starts with a standard energy shield. Take damage and it drains. If it hits 0, you are out. 0 energy means instant disqualification. They have thought of everything, the MC noted, checking his gear. 3 paths to victory: kill 50 monsters, take down a boss, or hunt your fellow examinees. He scanned the armed hunters nearby. Total war. Every direction held a potential enemy waiting to strike. "Let us get started," he whispered. "In this game, candidates must eliminate each other to secure their future. Points are everything. If the monsters run out, the hunters will surely turn on one another." Sure, some weaklings begged for a squad, but numbers meant nothing to him. Soloing was his only vibe. A real boss awaited deep within the jungle's heart. No action yet. He craved the violent symphony of cold steel clashing against steel. Hunting other participants seemed like a decent warm-up to test their true capabilities. Suddenly, a massive Black Panther lunged. Smirking, he forged a spear from his artifact. He claimed first blood. A system alert flashed as cosmic energy enveloped his body. Stats exploded by 40%. The legendary sliding cloud step technique hummed to life. He blurred toward the beast, knowing this monster was just a simulated trial. Yet its murderous intent felt chillingly authentic. Its hide was iron-tough and powerful. Tanking was risky in this frail body. He lunged, but a spiked mace appeared. He pivoted smoothly. That lethal tail made close-quarters combat a nightmare plan. Creating distance, he waited. The moment the predator pounced, he locked his target. He unleashed the swift spear technique, crushing strike. The system interface pinged instantly. 8 units of cosmic energy vanished. Skill swift spear. Rank B martial art. Requirement control over magic or universal energy. This technique was forged for execution. It boasted god-tier speed and piercing force designed solely to carve an enemy's throat. Level 1. 30% strength, 20% agility, and 120% penetration. The panther's head flew clean off. System named Monster Stalker has been eliminated. 10 points earned. Total 32. The hunt was just starting to get interesting. Not bad, he mused. If a minion was this tough, the boss would be legendary. Suddenly 3 shadows loomed. Kim Young-jin, the youngest, barked at his brothers. This random kid had poached their kill. They had been tracking that monster. The eldest, Kim Young-chul, stepped forward. "You've got a death wish, kid." They were the Black 3 Stars. Famous, feared, world-class brothers who hated thieves. Who are these clowns, he wondered. They likely preyed on exhausted, weakened players. Scavengers. He blinked, activating Eye of Truth to peel back their hidden stats. Physically, they were beasts far sturdier than him. Their potential wasn't half bad either. "Is this brat laughing at us?" Yong-jin growled, his face twisting in fury. Yong-chul narrowed his eyes. The boy clearly didn't realize his life was ending. "Less yapping, more scrapping," he countered with a grin. "Stop talking and attack." "I'll shut you up," Yong-jin roared. They demanded points or a violent death. "School's in session," they hissed, drawing weapons and charging in a synchronized wave. He shifted his artifact into a dagger, dancing through their strikes with grace. "Got you," Yong-jin yelled. But they had picked the wrong guy to fight. He unleashed the branch dagger art, dealing multiple blows in a silver blur. System flower dagger technique activated. Rank C. A specialized martial art for lethality. Exclusive to those wielding universal power. A defensive masterpiece from the Howman Fortress. It traded raw power for surgical precision, parrying heavy blows with zero wasted effort. Level 1. Counterattacks reduce enemy power by 30%. A perfect defensive skill. Deflecting cost 8 energy. Critical hits added 50% strength damage for 3 units. Under his relentless pressure, the brothers began to buckle. The tide had shifted. "Back off," Yong-jin screamed. He was too close for magic to be useful. Suddenly, Yong-chul hurled a spear. "Get away from my brother," he bellowed. Flames erupted as he cast fire magic. Burn, but our protagonist just kept smiling. He manifested a massive blade. 5 Tiger Blade, he whispered. Playtime was over. A notification flared the A-rank 5 Tiger Blade, a martial art restricted to those who can weave magic or tap into cosmic energy. This was the legendary secret of the prestigious Hebei Peng clan. Renowned for its raw ferocity and practicality, its sheer simplicity made it a terrifyingly efficient killing tool. Our hero lunged, soaring through the air like a predator before reaching Yun-chul. "Game over," he smirked. The boys shrieked in terror, but it was too late. One swift strike earned him 13 points. He realized this guy was a goldmine of points. Yun-su stood paralyzed, completely shell-shocked. His brother and his pride were shattered. Yun-jin shuddered, sensing a monstrous aura radiating from him. This was the real deal. Our protagonist wondered if only one of these losers actually held points. Were these guys even worth the effort? He began closing the distance, stalking his next prey. "Ready to finish this?" he asked. Suddenly the speakers blared. Participant 450 Yun-chul out. His shield hit 0, forcing his withdrawal. Among the spectators, a wave of frantic whispers spread. How could a Black 3-star fail? These were the elite stars of the country's second-best guild. A girl grinned, knowing it was Sung-woo's doing. Everything was playing out exactly as predicted. He was the secret weapon discovered by Lee Won-taek, Korea's legendary second-ranked hunter. Under that monster's tutelage, the ultimate talent was born Sung-woo. And now, the Gamson Guild boys never stood a chance. The announcer continued. Yun-su and Yun-jin. Both shields have reached 0. Elimination confirmed for participants 451 and 52. The camera shifted to our protagonist, standing calm amidst the wreckage of the three brothers. That's our pride, Sung-woo, the girl cheered. But wait, who was that mysterious figure? He kept moving, mashing through more contestants. Was he already on his 20th kill? Afraid of missing the top-tier targets, he prowled the boss area like a hungry wolf. Still no sign of them, and time was ticking. With an hour left, the exam took priority. Time to hunt the big game. He headed for the boss, following the only path to glory. A claustrophobic tunnel loomed ahead. At its end, a massive presence waited in the dark. A colossal stone golem blocked his path. It was a fortress of rock, with insane self-healing powers. A system window identified it, the Blue Guard, Strength 100, Constitution 80, a literal walking tank. Weak attacks were useless. It could stitch its stony limbs back together using pure mana. Manifesting a spear, he frowned. Did the examiners actually expect anyone to kill this monster? One slip-up meant instant disqualification. He couldn't let it breathe. He had to keep the pressure on. He struck, but his weapon just bounced off the heavy plating. The defense was absolutely insane. Too soft, he hissed. The system mocked him with a 0 damage notification as the battle raged. The golem swung a mountain-sized fist, but he danced through the air narrowly, avoiding the smash. Attack failed. Retrying. The system chimed. He laughed. Was this monster actually calling out its moves? How polite. He'd been bored stiff by those weak brothers. But this was a real fight. No need for the tiger blade yet. He wanted to test his raw strength against this titan first. Vaulting high, he morphed his artifact into a massive axe. Mountain cleaving, he roared. The impact was seismic. A jagged fissure tore through the golem's chest. The system confirmed the technique. A B+ rank technique fueled by cosmic energy and magic. The ultimate power of the universe. It was the pinnacle of axe mastery, a devastating blow designed to split the world apart. Damage boosted by 130% strength. The cost, 15 units of universal energy. The hit landed, but the system warned a lethal counterattack was already in motion. He rolled away a wild grin on his face. The crack was small, but it worked. If one hit didn't do it, he'd land 1,000. He wasn't leaving until this golem was dust. Suddenly, Yumi arrived on the scene. Her eyes widened as she saw him soloing the boss. He felt her gaze and grew nervous. Why did she show up when he was almost victorious? If she unleashes those spirits now juggling her, and the golem becomes a literal death sentence, simultaneously fighting both is impossible. But targeting her gives the golem time to fully regenerate. That's a total dead end. Yumi smirks, asking if he needs a hand with the boss. Our MC freezes, baffled by her audacity. He'd already sliced that monster into ribbons. Why try to steal my feast? He snaps. The girl just flashes a playful grin. She taunts him, asking if he's too weak to solo it. Is that her play? He could flip this crisis into a massive win. You really want to catch hands now. 10 minutes. That's all he needs to execute the guard. Yumi scoffs. No way you win. With 20 minutes left, she demands a cut. What's my reward? She presses. He bets it all. 172 points to be exact. A wicked smirk spreads. His stash outweighs the boss loot. A split would only leave her with scraps. It's a gamble she can't refuse. And if you win, she asks. He hesitates. Suddenly the golem starts regenerating. Panic hits, he's been yapping way too long. It's reviving. Buy me dinner later and shut up already, he roars, charging back in. Yumi nods, warning him she'll steal the kill the second he starts failing. He grins, do your worst. It won't happen. She bristles at his casual disrespect. First meeting yet so rude, he chuckles. Don't like it, drop the honorifics too. 10 minutes fly by. The exam concludes and candidates teleport back to the hub. Staff rushes to participant 370 screaming for immediate medical backup. Seeing our MC, they gasp. He's in bad shape too. Get the high-grade potions. Mana and stamina. Flatlined at 0. That golem's healing nearly cost him the bet. Talking almost ruined everything. Yumi stands frozen, her mind reeling in disbelief. Guess she owes him dinner. He predicted every single swing with absolute precision. Could she even beat him? Sung-woo was just raw power. This guy is different. Against Sung-woo, she'd win. But then the speakers blast. Participant 511 takes first. Min Chul has conquered the license exam. The leaderboard flickers to life before everyone. Yumi's second, Sung-woo's third. He stares paralyzed by shock, refusing to accept reality. Cameras swarm him, mocking his third-place finish. He aggressively bats the lenses away. I'm not talking to anyone, he snarls. Then the spotlight shifts completely. All eyes lock onto the MC. Whispers erupt, the dark horse actually claimed the throne. Time to vanish before the mob arrives. Too late, journalists are already hounding him. Demanding interviews, they won't let him leave. Fine, I'll join a guild for 5 billion. 5 billion is his price tag. Guild leaders trade confused looks, calling him insane. Elite skills, but trash tier stats. He'd only be worth that if he were rank A. Why recruit a hunter who's already hit his ceiling? He has zero growth potential. MC just smirks at their logic. Honestly, he never planned on signing anything anyway. Beat it, kid. Nobody's paying $5 billion for a rookie. Then a voice cuts through. I'll pay the contract fee, a voice booms. The MC's jaw nearly hits the floor. Is this for real? $5 billion upfront for a complete unknown. This is pure madness. What kind of psycho makes that deal? He turns to face the madman. It's Margin. The man waves cheerfully from the crowd. Our hero is lost. Who is this short guy? Soon they reach Interstellar Union HQ. MC doesn't hold back. What's your game, old man? I'm not joining your guild, he snaps. Margin just grins. I'm aware of that. I'm just making life easy for you. Register with the Union as a solo mercenary, a freelance hunter. Under this contract, we're partners, not boss and employee. Perfect right. Basically, the Union promised zero interference while providing him a private gate. They'd supply a support crew and buy his loot at premium rates. The hero mused the contract was solid, but the perks were suspicious. The Interstellar Union wasn't a charity. In this world, nothing is free. No freebies was their golden rule. Only a fool would believe this. He tossed the contract aside. Time wasted. Martian quickly called out. Martian claimed they just wanted trust. MC sensed they expected hidden power. He'd already shown his cards. What more did they want from him? Perhaps they were just playing nice. He saw no reason to refuse. He signed. Later, Ellie questioned Martian about the freelance mercenary deal. Martian wasn't being reckless. He told her to prepare for clients. Free mercenaries held power, rivaling pandemonium nobility. This was high stakes. A deal like this required approval from the absolute top brass. A VIP code wasn't enough, but Martian wouldn't let this chance slip. Martian reached out to Knox, one of the Union's 12 directors. To his shock, Knox approved instantly. Is it really that easy? Knox ordered full support. Report everything to me immediately and secretly. Martian collapsed in disbelief. What kind of monster had he found? The VIP status was one thing, but the fight footage, game changer. Earlier, Knox witnessed the protagonist's combat recording and was mesmerized. Every move was surgical. Perfect calculation. Not a single breath wasted. It mirrored Damo's style. But Damo was dead. This was impossible. MC woke up late. Why didn't my alarm go off? He grumbled. A knock. Ellie introduced herself from behind the door. A beauty in my lair. A phone call would have worked. Was she the secretary? She insisted on talking face-to-face instead. She'd sent a text, but our MC had completely missed it. Ellie looked at the room's chaos. Understandable. It's quite messy here. His phone had been buzzing nonstop. How'd they even get his number? He let her in. Ellie scanned the cramped apartment with curiosity. Are you role-playing as a commoner? This is beyond modest. You've done your research, he replied. She denied any intrusive digging. They didn't want to offend him. Then why visit yesterday, he asked. His hunter ID flagged him as a candidate for the upcoming exam. Good. They weren't prying yet. This suited his plans perfectly. Ellie handed over a phone and card. Let's talk business now. He froze. The card held the entire contract amount up front. $5 billion. Even after taxes, the balance was absolutely insane. Is this actually for me? He stammered, staring at the screen. Ellie giggled. She didn't expect the legendary VIP to be so shocked. He lived like a middle schooler. His spending habits were non-existent. There's one more thing, Ellie added, shifting to a serious tone. They needed to finalize his team and the gate raid conditions. Just a porter, he stated. Ellie blinked. No tanks, no healers. I'm enough. He stood up. When do we clear the gate? Our lead noted this journey would be a marathon, not a sprint. He couldn't wait to finally flex his official hunter status. Tucked away was a hidden leveling system, a trump card he'd yet to activate. Ellie bragged that her elite skills would make it a breeze. Fast forward 3 hours, and they arrived at the Amsterdam gates. This rank D forest spanned 3 kilometers of dense woods, crawling with goblins, thorny boars, and those cunning wise monkeys. A lethal rank D creature eater also lurked within. With nearly 37 hours on the clock, he marveled at Ellie's sheer competence. Ellie just flashed a smug grin, reminding him she wasn't lying. Stunned, he admitted her ego was well-earned. Support Commander Yong-hyun approached, eyeing the legendary rookie who'd recently sparked a frenzy. The one who broke the exam records. Ellie waved, introducing the squad assigned to back him up. The commander offered a firm handshake and his name. After reciprocating the gesture, our hero made a cold declaration that he'd be soloing the entire gate. Their only job, collect the loot afterward. Without another word, he vanished into the portal. Yong-hyun questioned why such an unknown name like Minchul required an emergency deployment. Who exactly was this mysterious kid? A teammate chimed in, revealing he was the absolute beast who dominated the national hunter exams. Since the results only dropped yesterday, the name hadn't registered. Suddenly, the reality of the situation hit the entire crew. Tension flared as they scoffed at a literal noob hunter attempting to solo a dungeon. The audacity was laughable. They expected a frantic distress call any second, but then bam, he obliterated a massive boar with a single effortless strike. Grinning, he warned them to keep pace because things were about to get hectic. Every kill started fueling his XP bar. Percentages ticked up on his HUD. High on the thrill of the hunt, he reveled in the massive flow of experience. Seconds later, the glorious chime of the system echoed he had successfully leveled up for the first time. He instantly dove into his stats, heart racing as his power surged. Flashing a confident smirk, he decided it was time to take a breather. Meanwhile, the exhausted support team literally hit the dirt, gasping for air. They whispered that Minchul was a total monster. Moments later, our hero pulled up his updated character sheet, revealing 5 unassigned points. In this world, every level up granted him the freedom to customize his raw power. He didn't hesitate for a second. Without a shred of doubt, he dumped every single point into cosmic power. Was his origin really this broken? Just 30 minutes in, and his energy was already surging. He'd already boosted his reserves by 10%. If this kept up, he'd reach the peak of the world effortlessly. He resumed the carnage, tearing through wise monkeys like a whirlwind. Yong-hyun watched the slaughter in stunned silence. The kid looked possessed by the spirit of battle. How could anyone have dared to call him a rookie? This wasn't a newbie. This was a war god who'd survived thousands of blood-soaked battlefields. It was clear, they were merely spectators to his unpredictable genius. It was impossible to believe he'd just gotten his license. He was desperate to see how far this kid could climb. Before long, every mob in the vicinity lay dead. He'd already hit level 5. Realizing the field was empty, he turned to the team, casually asking about the boss. If they were ready for the final showdown. Yong-hyun hid his shock, nodding with a knowing smirk, and told Minchul to trust his instincts. Meanwhile, a teammate stared in disbelief, shaking with visible anxiety. The veteran asked if he knew the protocol. Standard raids required days of scouting before even approaching the boss. Charging in without intel was a death wish. You couldn't just gamble your life on a blind assault, right? Minchul just shrugged, finding the caution completely pointless. If information was the only issue, he'd just solve it himself. He decided to end it now. He knew the only way out was through the destruction of the gate's core. Tracking the surge of mana, he pinpointed the boss's location. Moments later, he stepped into the lair of Edamon, the rank D king of monkeys. Minchul recalled that this beast possessed a uniquely dangerous skill set. He was a master of high-tier magic. Yong-hyun warned that underestimating Edamon would lead to a gruesome death, but Minchul was already a blur of motion. He told them to relax already, visualizing his winning move. To win, he just had to shut down the boss's casting. Feeling the threat, Edamon slammed down a cursed totem. A numbness curse instantly washed over him, dragging his agility down. The air itself felt heavy and restrictive. Using a flurry of dagger techniques and pinpoint throws, he shattered the totem into a million pieces. He smirked to himself. These apes were clueless. Their fate was sealed the moment they bared their teeth. Outclassed and outnumbered, not for him. The MC decapitated the monkeys in a flash, closing the distance to the boss. Without warning, Edamon let out a blood-curdling shriek, evolving into a terrifying new form. The boy froze in shock. Did that boss just self-buff? The MC wondered. His power was skyrocketing. His teammates shrieked in pure, unadulterated horror. They wailed that this beast was unbeatable alone. Our hero rolled his eyes. Were they actually going to help, or just whine? Imagine struggling against such a weakling. He unleashed the 5-tiger blade instantly, carving through Edamon like butter. A system window flickered to life. Gate cleared. Mission accomplished. Emerging back into the world, laden with rare artifacts, Ellie flashed a bright smile. You absolutely crushed it, she praised. Have you been standing here the whole time, he asked. She nodded, noting this was his legendary first gate clear. Would he be hungry for more? The MC cut to the chase, asking when the next mission was on the books. 3 days from now, she answered. He sighed in relief. He had some serious errands to run before then, and after tomorrow, schedule a gate daily. Ellie gaped in pure shock. Are you insane? Most hunters need days to recover. He just shrugged. To him, fatigue was just a myth. Can you hook me up with a gear merchant tomorrow? I should probably stop fighting half naked. He recalled the Deimos era. His body was shielded by demonic skin then. He could tank any hit without blinking. Now, without gear, it was a different story. His body was battered and bruised. Ellie broke the silence. You'll have to meet the Union Master directly, she explained. I'll notify you once the slot is confirmed. It shouldn't be a long wait. Heading toward the car, he replied that he was actually looking forward to it. At the Interstellar Union, he tallied his gear costs. He never imagined the legendary master would be such a shorty. He'd been suspicious of this guy. His methods were one thing, but the way he spoke was a whole different story. Maybe he's legit. Plan head home and squeeze in some training. The hero stepped onto the bus. Mid-trip, a massive collision rocked the street. He peered out the window to see the source of the chaos. A jagged gate was ripping open right in the center of the road. He stared, completely stunned. A black gate in the heart of Seoul. Yesterday's was just a blue. Suddenly, giant werewolves began pouring out. Panic erupted. Pedestrians fled in terror, shrieking that monsters were breaking through. "We have to get out of here." In the heart of the chaos, a little girl cried out for her mother. A werewolf holding a crossbow approached. It claimed her as its next meal. Suddenly, the MC swept her up. "Why are you drooling, you disgusting beast?" He launched a spear at the beast, mocking it. "Using real martial arts on you would be a complete waste. Just die and hand over the experience points." A system notification materialized before his eyes. "You earned 2.5% experience." Is my level so low that the gains are this pathetic, he wondered. A second window flashed. Universal energy detected. He could actually absorb this power for himself. The MC's heart raced. "I can harvest this." Eventually, the association warriors arrived to secure the gate. They clashed with the werewolves. "Oh me Jin," a D-rank hunter, panted. "The numbers are just overwhelming." "I'm out of mana," she cried. Jung Min Soo, another D-ranker, shouted that his shield was about to break. These weren't your typical E-rank monsters. Their coloration was bizarre. Then out of nowhere, they watched the MC soar through the air, spear in hand. "Free energy," he shouted effortlessly, evading every attack. He slaughtered the werewolves. Min Soo stared in awe. "Who is that man?" A system window appeared. "Star system equipment readiness has reached 1.5%. Universal power increased by 0.3. The MC smirked. "Why are you just standing there? Go help the wounded." "I'll hold the line. These monsters are all my experience points now." With those words, he lunged back into the monster horde, tearing them apart. Later that day, the MC met Jo Sun-hee at a cafe. "I heard you stopped a gate breakout all by yourself," Sun-hee remarked. "Completely solo. It was so sudden, a gate opening in the city center. If you hadn't intervened, the casualties would have been catastrophic. On behalf of the association, I truly want to thank you." The boy gave a polite bow. "I just did what needed to be done," the MC replied modestly. Sun-hee handed him a business card, noting his heroic actions deserved a proper reward. The MC began to think. He reigned as the security chief. A true hunter capable of detecting mana, his power likely sat at A or B rank. Activating his eyes of truth felt like a waste. They were strangers passing by, and frankly, he just did not care. His best bet was calling Ellie to clean up this mess immediately. That was his only priority. Fast forward 1 week, and Minchul crosses paths with Sun-hee again. He never expected to see her in this place. Watching Sun-hee, he pondered his life as a hunter. His mind drifted back to the chaos 2 days prior. He recalled a twin-headed werewolf's deafening roar as it tore through the helpless city. Blade in hand, Minchul stood over the beast. The system flashed, announcing his ascension to level 11. A week of relentless grinding had passed since his breakthrough, and his level was finally skyrocketing. But the hunger for points was eternal. He pushed off the dirt as the system chimed again. Strength up by 1, constitution by 0.4, and agility by 0.5. The grind never stops. Training upside down, he realized better gear was vital for higher-tier gates. Suddenly, a familiar face approached. They asked if he was slacking. He fired back while the air was still thick with tension. He worked. His peers were baffled. While they were drowning in exhaustion, his iron will remained unshakable. He requested a brief breather. Moments later, our hero was already trekking deep into the woods. Out of nowhere, Ellie appeared with a playful smirk, claiming she had been expecting him all along. She was his designated support, but surely the Union had better uses for her time than waiting around. She insisted the squad was just being attentive. Minchul sensed she took orders directly from that short guy. Ellie dropped a bombshell. The squad leader requested a private audience with him immediately. His new gear was ready. Surprised, he realized he would have to take a break from gate clearing tomorrow. Checking everything takes time after all. Suddenly, his hunter instincts flared at an odd sensation nearby. He glanced over, confused. His teammates were practically sobbing with tears of pure relief. The prospect of rest was a miracle. They felt like they had finally been heard by the heavens. Diving into gates daily was soul-crushing work. Minchul watched them, completely failing to relate. The crew joked that some heartless villain was forcing them to work without any mercy. Usually they had days between missions, but this pace was insane. Minchul just could not wrap his head around it. The guys kept venting. They were pulling way more shifts than the standard protocol required. It was a golden ticket to earn bank, so they stayed quiet, but the fatigue was becoming unbearable. Any job requires downtime. Minchul apologized for his freakish stamina and wondered what was up. Seeing them talk in perfect sync was low-key annoying. With a quick wave, they parted ways. They promised to see him tomorrow at the Interstellar Union headquarters for his big send-off. As soon as he stepped out of the vehicle, a swarm of hungry journalists descended upon him. Minchul groaned. The paparazzi were back, shoving microphones in his face and demanding a statement. Rumors were flying that he was the MVP during that recent terrifying gate breakout. They grilled him about his secret deal with the Union. Stunned, he struggled to find the right words. He abruptly apologized and pushed past the crowd, leaving the confused reporters staring at his back. Ellie watched him sighing at his sheer stubbornness. The man simply refused to play by the rules. Entering the room, Minchul sighed about nearly getting mobbed. The girl and the leader were already waiting. The leader practically beamed with pride. He boasted that the custom gear was finally ready for action. Minchul was skeptical. He wanted a look. Marchand just smiled, confident that his client would be impressed. With a single click, the equipment manifested. The system identified it as the legendary Talos Promise. Rare rank armor, durability 250, physical defense 20, fire resistance 7, high tier specs. Next was the Talos Faith. Rare rank pants with 210 durability and level 13 physical defense. With 15 wind resistance and a 7% agility boost via wind path, he still remained cautious. Then he spotted the Sylph's Tear, a rare earring boosting his agility by a massive 20%. Finally, the Volcanic Oath Ring appeared, granting him a direct 20-point boost to his strength. The moment Minchul donned the gear, he felt its raw power. Marchand leaned in, asking if the equipment satisfied his hunger for strength. It's perfect, he admitted, honestly exceeding every expectation. However, with more time and a bigger budget, they could have forged something truly legendary. Since the contract lacked an item clause, he felt a sting of regret. He aimed for a fair partnership with the union. The leader paused, and Minchul doubled down. Exactly. The leader tested him again. Did he need more? Had he finally proven his worth to the association? Brushing the pressure aside, the protagonist made his demand. Just open a B-rank gate for me. Marchand's jaw dropped. Are you insane? He stammered, claiming such a feat was currently impossible. Why the gatekeeping? Minchul pressed. Marchand explained that at B rank, the survival rate plummets instantly. These gates are war zones for high-tier loot. To prevent slaughter, the Union enforced strict entry requirements. The grind was massive, 40 D ranks and 30 C ranks. Minchul did the math, the scale was daunting. Even with a daily grind, it'd take 2 months. Too slow. Marchand hinted at a rare, dangerous shortcut. Minchul's eyes lit up with curiosity. What's the catch? He demanded, smelling a challenge. The trial defeat an elite A-rank hunter. Minchul smirked. They should have led with that. Later, he arrived at the Hunters Union, a global powerhouse with massive legal teeth. He checked on Ellie, asking if she was still salty. He'd ghosted her with those vultures yesterday. She wasn't worried, was she? She flashed a sharp smile, promising she wouldn't forget his disappearing act. The protagonist realized he was in the doghouse. Ellie's vibe made it clear she was still heated. Are you sure about this? She whispered. Despite his growth, an A-rank was still a different beast. It's not a deathmatch, he shrugged. He wasn't being cocky. He was just being realistic. His power wasn't just stats. It was a fusion of top-tier gear, grit, and past life memories. On paper, he was the underdog, but factoring in his hidden cheats, he had a winning hand. In the waiting room, a staffer broke it down. His future depended on this A-rank duel. So I just have to drop him to pass, Minchul asked, ready to get it over with. The staffer wheezed with laughter. Knock out an A-rank. You've got a killer sense of humor, kid. A judge would decide his fate. Minchul frowned, asking what the secret scorecard actually looked like. It was classified, leaving him irritated. Ellie leaned in, whispering the real metrics into his ear. They were tracking his raw talent, hair trigger reflexes, and how he clutched up under pressure. This was the true test. He nodded as the employee announced the arena was finally ready. The stage was set. Exam preparations complete, they signaled. It's time to step into the ring. The arena was a masterpiece, perfectly simulating the deadly atmosphere of an actual dungeon gate. He stepped onto the field, met by an opponent who had been eagerly anticipating his arrival. Minchul froze. Wait, you. Standing there was Sun-hee, wearing a grin that meant business. As the head of Association Defense and a veteran A-rank, he was the ultimate gatekeeper today. Rage flared in Minchul's eyes. He realized he'd walked straight into a calculated setup. Sun-hee told him to just play it cool, perform like usual, and the pass was guaranteed. Ready for a vibe check, Minchul smirked, confirming he was locked in. The duel was on. The official exam ignited instantly as the protagonist lunged forward, his blade screaming through the air. Confident and cold, Sun-hee frowned. He warned that everything in this world demands an equal price. He swung his spear with lethal intent. Minchul just laughed. Is that all? This is light work. A blinding flash erupted. In that split second, Sun-hee leaped, closing the distance like a predator. Can you actually parry this? He muttered, launching a relentless assault right at the protagonist's throat. Steel sang against steel as Minchul deflected every strike. This guy was faster than he looked. Who knew Sun-hee was hiding this kind of heat? His abilities were on a whole different level. Ellie watched the monitor, knuckles white with tension. She prayed Minchul could survive this trial by fire. Their blades clashed in a shower of sparks, the battle escalating into a symphony of high-stakes destruction. Sun-hee smirked, claiming he wasn't just for show, as his blade suddenly evaporated into thin air. He admitted he finally understood how the guy soloed that gate and gave him a mock round of applause. Stepping forward, the MC locked eyes with him, demanding he stop holding back and unleash his full power. Sun He blinked in confusion, but Min Chul turned cold, threatening to end the fight right then and there. Pure fury erupted as a terrifying pitch-black aura flared around him, sending shivers down his partner's spine. A heavy silence filled the air before Sun He stammered, trying to play it off as a simple misunderstanding. He couldn't grasp the source of this rage, since everything seemed fine, but Min Chul pressed him further. A misunderstanding. If that was his best, dodging wouldn't have been child's play. Sun He recoiled in total shock. Min Chul calculated the gap. Sun He's stats were nearly 4 times his own. With a disparity that massive, he stood zero chance. Yet, instead of fear, a burning rage took over. He tightened his grip, ready for war. Looking his foe in the eye, he snarled that being underestimated was unacceptable. He made it clear, this was his final warning to go all out. Panic set in as cold sweat poured down Sun He's face. Silence followed until Sun He realized talk was cheap. It was time to rejoin the fray with everything he had. He unsheathed his blade, prepping the 7 sword spell, a legendary technique that let him manipulate 7 blades at once. The system chimed, identifying it as the ultimate mastery over 7 weapons, allowing for unrestricted peak-level destruction. A wild grin spread across the MC's face. Now this was the proper way to kick off a real fight. To him, A-rank hunters were like insurmountable walls, but that was exactly why he lived to tear them down. Min Chul lunged forward, his blade igniting with a brilliant magical radiance as he closed the distance. In a blur, Sun He parried the strike and vanished, reappearing instantly behind him like a ghost. He stiffened, but reacted instantly, weaving through the lethal blows and dropping low. Sun He was visibly stunned by his reflexes. As the MC spun around, he spotted a shimmering blade tucked away inside Sun He's jacket. Min Chul realized his plan worked. He wasn't slipping up, he was just baiting out that hidden 4th sword. That tiny blade radiated insane pressure, proving just how monstrous Sun He's power truly was as a top-tier hunter. Why limit such talent to just swords? The air screamed as they traded blows, parrying with blinding speed. Sun He smirked, admitting the kid had been a constant source of shock over the last few weeks. Min Chul brushed it off, though the breakneck pace was starting to push his limits to the breaking point. His temper flared as he swung wide, only to freeze in his tracks, paralyzed by the sight before him. Sun He lunged with a devastating strike, white light engulfing everything as the symphony of clashing steel intensified. He was finally going all out. Min Chul figured if he could just endure the onslaught, he'd find an opening. Every pro makes mistakes eventually. Sun He stared him down, warning him to stay sharp if he wants to survive. Suddenly, an emerald magical blade manifested at his back. He froze, realizing he was caught in a lethal pincer move. There was no escape. The strike slammed directly into his chest, sending him hurtling into a nearby wall with bone-shattering force. Concrete exploded into fragments as he slumped over, buried in debris, while the settling dust masked his motionless body. Sun He approached to survey the damage, asking if the fight was finally over, but then the MC slowly rose. Sun He's jaw hit the floor. He knew that blow was lethal enough to tear an arm clean off. How was he still standing? Had he really triggered an explosion just to bail himself out of that deadly trap? Baffled by this monster in front of him, Sun He could only stare. Meanwhile, Min Chul was drowning in sheer agony. He was a bloody, bruised mess, but his desperate gamble to use the blast as a shield had actually paid off. Without his armor skill, his bones would be powder right now. Thankfully, he'd activated heavy armor just in time. This specialized magic from the Talos set burned through mana to drastically boost his physical damage negation. The plan worked, but it was a total tightrope walk. The stat gap between them remained absolutely astronomical. Closing his eyes, the MC knew he had to lock in, as blinding rays of magical light began to swirl, materialized around him. The system pinged, confirming his acquisition of the 7-star demonic sword, and he snapped his eyes open in pure shock. A sinister, shadowy mana surged forth, enveloping both his frame and Sun in an eerie glow. Danger flared in his gut. Sun grimaced, apologizing for not being at full throttle since he was missing his entire arsenal. Min Chul just smirked. Doesn't matter. This is plenty, he declared, leveling his blade right at his foe. Sun blurred, evading and counter-swinging while roaring about, reaching his zenith. But our hero was already locked in. He triggered the 7-star demonic sword's first form. Unleashing the sword of destruction, he sent Sun flying back. Sun froze in disbelief, his mind reeling. Sudden bursts of lethal radiance from the impact shattered against his face, forcing a scream of agony. His blade disintegrated into worthless shards. He spun around, paralyzed by the spectacle. Min Chul grinned, basking in his absolute dominance as he stared Sun down. Sun stumbled back as searing light beams shredded his defenses, making him literally crumble. Total shock gripped him. He gripped his final remaining blade, knowing a single strike wouldn't cut it. In that case, he spat. Planning to burn his leftover cosmic energy, his words died as a torrent of crimson spilled from his lips. Coughing uncontrollably, he collapsed while his rival also sank to one knee, exhausted. Muscles spasming from fatigue, both warriors groaned as the lethal exchange finally ceased. Right then, the doors burst open. Ellie rushed in, panicking. "Hunter Minchell, are you hurt? What happened here?" With a weary grin, Minchell claimed victory. Sun scoffed, insisting the win was his if he had brought his full gear. An awkward beat of silence followed, as both men sat there physically wrecked and trembling. Spontaneous laughter broke the tension. A confused Ellie watched as Minchell pressed, "So what is the verdict, Sun?" Sun beamed, confirming he had cleared the exam. Fast forward, a brilliant new dawn broke over the city. Perched atop a massive skyscraper, our hero trained hard. 3 days had vanished since the trial. Snapping out sharp strikes and testing his agility, he checked his stats. He assumed he had fully healed from the previous carnage. Now, the B-rank Tundra Gate was calling his name. It was a massive 5-kilometer zone, infested with yetis, snow golems, and ice trolls. The timer for breakthrough. Read 25 hours and 17 minutes. Ellie worried. "Are you seriously heading in there right now?" He needed medical attention, yet here he was, bypassing inspections to dive back into the fray. "Where are you going? This is a B rank." Gate Minchell just zipped up his parka unfazed. "Told you I don't need doctors. The ancient heavenly art is literally rebuilding my biology." Every injury and recovery cycle just boosted his raw power and speed to insane levels. He had delayed the raid briefly, but his battle instincts were screaming for action the moment he felt better. Soon the portal shimmered open. Stepping through a soul-chilling frost hit him instantly. His squad warned him. This place was a deep freeze hell. Fellow hunters huddled together, teeth chattering in the sub-zero wind. They stared at Minchell, who wasn't even shivering. "The breeze. It is actually pretty refreshing," he joked. Cosmic energy granted him insane frost resistance. He actually felt like ditching his jacket entirely. It felt useless anyway. The team begged him to keep it on. The temperature was about to plummet further. Minchell halted. "Hey guys, anyone want to lend a hand?" The hunters chimed in, suggesting a base camp to prevent their stats from tanking in the cold. Minchell nodded, giving them the green light. As he went to scout, they warned him to play it safe. He waded through massive snowdrifts that seemed endless. This B-rank gate was proving to be way more massive than the blueprints suggested. "Where are the mobs?" Just then, a behemoth erupted from beneath the powder, snow exploding everywhere. It let out a bone-rattling roar. Our hero snapped into a combat stance, scanning the threat. A massive yeti. Stats 120, strength 110, agility and 110 constitution. 90, stamina plus blessing of cold and camouflage. Minchul smirked. "So that is where you were hiding." The beast launched itself into the sky. "You really think you can hide with that build?" he mocked. Absurd. Suddenly, the yeti materialized at his six. He whirled around, every muscle coiled like a spring. Manifesting a radiant magic arrow, he parried the blow. The pressure was on. This was a high-rank zone after all. It was barely a warm-up. With a single flash of the Five Tigers technique, he cleaved the beast right in half. This felt way too easy. After erasing the monster from existence, he ventured deeper into the shadowed heart of the forest. Suddenly, the system dinged. He'd gained 2.7% experience, over 5 times more than his original estimate. Minchell realized the mobs weren't anything special, but the payout was 10 times higher. His math was finally adding up. Entering a higher rank gate was definitely the right move. He'd have to find a way to thank Marchand later. Back at the Hunters Association, Sung-hee marched straight into the director's office and slapped down a resignation letter. The director stared, completely blindsided. Bowing deeply, Sung-hee apologized. He was no longer the reckless rookie he used to be. He had evolved from a hero wannabe into a real professional, yet now he was just quitting, 10 years of partnership gone. The boss demanded a real explanation for this sudden exit. Sung-hee sighed, admitting it was a long, complicated story. It all started a few days ago during the exam, when he met Minchell. "Wait," the director paused. "That guy, the one who soloed the gate breach?" Sung-hee nodded. On paper, Minchell was nothing more than a lowly rank E, yet he'd crushed a dimensional rift all by himself. Despite the massive gap in their official rankings, Sung-hee knew he was completely outclassed. After their lopsided duel, Minchell had proven he was in a league of his own. Minchell had humbled the overconfident hunter, redefining the true path of a warrior just 3 days post-exam. Offering a firm handshake, Sung-hee admitted he'd severely misjudged him. Minchell just shrugged it off like it was nothing. Sung-hee gave a wry laugh, acknowledging the lesson. "You're planning to climb even higher, aren't you?" "Count on it," Minchell smirked. Sung-hee vowed to close the gap between them no matter what it took. Minchell encouraged him to grind hard, though privately, he wondered if catching up was even humanly possible. Every hunter eventually hits a ceiling they can't break. But for Minchell, conventional limits simply didn't exist. In that moment, Sung-hee looked his boss in the eye and declared his hunger for absolute power. It wasn't just a dream, it was a necessity. To truly evolve, he had to face the tower's deadly trials. Staring into Sung-hee's intense burning gaze, the director was convinced his subordinate had finally lost his mind. That massive relic from the first cataclysm offered godlike strength but only to those willing to gamble their lives. Sung-hee was already at his peak. There was zero reason for him to risk a suicide mission in the tower. Frustrated, the director snatched the paper and ripped it to shreds. Sung-hee froze, completely stunned by the reaction. "I'll pretend I never saw this," the director barked. "Go take a vacation and get some rest." He tossed the scraps aside, urging him to return with a clear head. Sung-hee's brow furrowed in silent frustration. Fine. He'd take the break, but he'd be back soon. He bowed out, leaving the director sighing in relief. "Don't forget the souvenirs," the boss yelled. Sung-hee shouted back a yes, but his mind was already miles away. He knew Minchul was out there tirelessly advancing toward godhood. There was no way he was standing still. Day 3 of the Rank B gate raid. With only 40 hours until a breakthrough, he had to kill the boss. Monsters would keep flooding out unless the leader fell. As long as he managed the herd, the gate stayed stable. It was the ultimate farming spot. The system pinged constantly as his experience bar surged to new heights. After wiping the floor with the mobs, he finally hit level 15. As he bifurcated the final beast, a chilling notification appeared. A hidden power had awakened within him to search for soul traces. He stared in shock. 2 legendary skills had unlocked Charm Power and Hellfire Power. What kind of insane loot was this? Youngjin noticed his strange expression and checked in. "I'm fine," he lied. "Let's just take a quick breather." The power of sin. Hidden deep within the Pandemonium Abyss lies the legendary castle known as the Hall of Sins. It's the seat of the 72 demonic nobles beings of terrifying authority who rule from their dark thrones. They wield the authority of sin, a godlike strength, a power he once commanded in his past life. As a mere human now, these demonic gifts should be unreachable. But these specific authorities, they weren't even his. Hellfire belonged to the demon Grangeo, a terrifying flame capable of incinerating everything in its path. He was the rank 11 terror. Then there was Seraphine, the rank 55 demoness, with her lethal charm. Her authority of charm could enslave the strongest minds, turning anyone into a mindless, loyal puppet. He had slaughtered them both in the past. Did that mean he was now harvesting their very essence? Imagine stealing the ultimate skills of everyone you've ever slain. Faced with a choice, our hero didn't even have to blink. A dark smirk played on his lips as he weighed his options. Suddenly, the system interface flickered to life. Hellish levitation was officially locked in. The power fused with his soul, merging raw physical might with pure abyssal energy. The ability crystallized into a spark of the abyss, causing a menacing crimson aura to erupt from his chest. "What is this?" he muttered, eyes widening. He gripped his chest as his shock transformed into a cold, satisfied grin. Another evolution. He was itching for a test drive, and as luck would have it, a target appeared perfectly on time. A pack of monsters was closing in fast. Grinning like a madman, he beckoned them closer with a mocking wave. He dared them to lunge. The Yetis roared with primal fury, leaving him momentarily stunned by their sheer aggression. Time to see what Minchul was truly capable of. Reborn into a fragile human shell after his world collapsed, everything had changed. He now possessed the legendary power of sin. As the beasts lunged, he ignited hellfire, burning through 150 mana. With a casual flick of his wrist, chaos erupted. The system confirmed the birth of abyssal flames, a blend of light and shadow. These flames shifted according to his darkest desires. Even he was shocked to find he could wield the devastating hellfire. But what was illumination curiosity took over, as he unleashed the mysterious skill to obliterate the nearest beast. The monster's agonizing shriek echoed through the air. Infused with demon Grangio's essence, the flames clung to the target, burning relentlessly. As long as his mana held out, the target would incinerate, just like he remembered. Then the unexpected happened. The Yeti was reduced to a charred skeleton in seconds. The surrounding pack froze in terror at this divine display of power. The remaining monsters charged in a blind panic. Minchul knew he had to seize this opening and master his new arsenal. He focused his palms, radiating a brilliant gold light. It was ironic, a former demon lord now channeling celestial radiance. Wielding divine light felt strange yet exhilarating. He decided to fuse his illumination skill with something even darker. He combined it with the abyssal spark, detonating a wave of blinding yellow energy that swept across the entire battlefield. Divine energy usually purges evil rather than striking it, but it served as a massive physical buff for his human body. He tore through the monster ranks like a whirlwind. Within seconds, the snowy field was littered with frozen corpses. He crushed them with effortless grace. It was effective, but his demonic soul felt a primal shiver from using holy power. Chills raced down his spine. Suddenly, he came to a dead halt, his jaw dropping as a massive realization hit him. This power belonged to the archangel he'd slain in his previous life. He truly inherited the skills of every soul he reaped. Race didn't matter, this was a total cheat code. Though a brawler at heart, Minchul realized his raid potential just skyrocketed. Now, he even possessed a ranged skill called Blessing. He stood amidst the carnage, processing the absurdity of his new kit. Having had his fill of the hunt, it was time to face the boss and shut this dungeon down for good. He eyed the towering peak ahead. Meanwhile, a demon and an ice spirit were creeping toward his defenseless teammates. Staffs held high, the intruders loomed. His friends spun around, screaming in terror at the sudden deadly ambush. Minchul unleashed a burst of mana, his voice cold. Going after the support team first, how predictable, he spat. A smart strategy, but doomed to fail while he was standing. Without another word, he lunged into the fray. He carved a path through the monsters, their cries of agony filling the air. Finally, he reached the foot of the mountain. The landscape itself seemed to tremble. He told his crew to hang back and catch their breath while he handled business. "You're taking on a B-rank boss solo?" Yang asked, trembling. Minchul didn't even hesitate with his confident response. Retreat wasn't in his vocabulary. "Just don't die," Yang pleaded, knowing their lives were now entirely in his hands. His other teammate called out his name through tears. Minchul offered a confident smirk, promising he'd be right back. He vanished into the dark cavern, coming face to face with a behemoth. "Just one human," the monster sneered. "Just me," Minchul replied coolly. This was the chieftain Nono. The beast grinned, mockingly, questioning the hero's sanity. Nono activated his slave summon, calling forth a wall of minions. They swarmed around their master, ready to kill. "Kill the intruder," the boss roared. As the circle closed in, Minchul just sighed, looking entirely unimpressed by the numbers. "You brought these weaklings to stop me," he mocked. "Big mistake." With a smirk, he cast a deceptive cloud spell. The minions faltered, confused by the shifting mists. Seizing the moment, Minchul unleashed his devastating mountain splitter technique. Despite the carnage, the boss held on to hope until one guard gathered a lethal mana blast in its gaping maw. Minchul unleashed a wall of infernal hellfire, shielding himself as the enemy's spells crashed uselessly against the flames. When their raw powers clashed, a blinding shockwave ripped through the air before a deafening silence consumed the battlefield. A trail of mangled monster corpses lay in his wake. Seething with rage, the boss spat, "You freak," while rising. Minchul smirked, asking if he'd finally seen the light. Nonon just growled back, vowing to end the short brat personally. Nonon launched himself into the sky, but Minchul read him easily, effortlessly leaping over the villain's head to counter. Clinging to the beast's spine, Minchul mocked his reckless charge. The monster froze. It never expected such a sudden lethal turn. Minchul was tossed aside, but the monster let out a blood-curdling shriek. Our hero just stared him down with confidence. He landed a brutal blow right on the crown. Nonon hissed, cursing the short freak for daring to touch him. He's doing all right. A long separation from Ellie awaits, but he's shaken. It never crossed his mind that a stranger would actually care about him. He proposed a victory dinner for his return. Ellie gasped. "Dinner." Just then, he swung the gate wide with a confident, "Exactly. No business, just vibes. He wants a real hangout." As he stepped out, he sealed the gate with a mysterious, lingering smirk. Promising a swift return, he entered. Inside the tower, the void felt suffocating, threatening to swallow his very soul as his senses vanished. The system pinged. Ancient celestial art activated. Minchul immediately focused, sharpening his perception to scout the treacherous, pitch-black surroundings. "Welcome to the testing tower," a voice boomed. Minchul froze, scanning for the source. Apparently, they had a special ceremony waiting for him. He whirled around, spotted. The shadowy figure gasped, "Impossible. You can actually see me." Minchul didn't even flinch. "Just a blurry outline," Minchul countered. The shadow snapped his fingers, clearly impressed. "Still, that's top-tier perception right there." Suddenly, a figure sporting a literal bear head materialized. "Welcome to the tower, name's Luce, your guide to this absolute madness." This floor's drill sergeant stood before him. "A bear mask." Minchul blinked. Luce sounded offended. "A bear? Really? Look closer, it's actually a bald lion." Minchul stared deadpan. "Seriously, what kind of bootleg bald lion is that supposed to be?" "Stop the cap and let's start," Minchul snapped. Luce chuckled, noting the kid had zero chill and a massive attitude problem. "I'm John Minchul, a name my parents honored me with," he stated firmly. Luce barked a laugh. "All right then, John." With a flash, Luce vanished, teasing the start of Trial Zero. Suddenly, a familiar blue holographic window flickered into existence. His eyes nearly popped. This was a carbon copy of the Hunter system he'd seen the day he first awakened. The screen read Floor Zero. Mission Trial by Combat. It was finally time to see if he was actually built different. Survival wasn't guaranteed. To pass, he had to dominate an unknown foe. Condition for failure, the challenger's cold hard death. "Just scream statuses to check your stats," Luce's voice echoed. Minchul let out a low, dangerous grin. No way this was a fluke. Luce giggled as the system began recalibrating Minchul's power levels to match the trial. One weapon only, no swaps allowed. He was locked in with his gear until the trial reached its brutal conclusion. Luce didn't bother wishing him luck. Instead, she smirked, sensing this kid was about to break the entire system. "He looks capable," she noted. But Jin, the floor manager, scoffed. To him, Minchul looked like another fragile, low-level scrub. "His stats are trash," Jin muttered. Then the numbers started skyrocketing with an explosive force he'd never witnessed before. Minchul's baseline hit a solid 100. Jin stood frozen. Why would a kid this young choose such a death trap? Is he suicidal? Jin wondered. Luce leaned back, watching intently. If he slipped up now, there would be no respawning. He was built differently from the rest. Luce mused on his survival time, making Jin wonder if she'd finally found a favorite. His low numbers didn't rattle her at all. Jin crossed his arms, skeptical. I'll give him 10 minutes before he folds. He's got to keep up with the scaling, Jin insisted. Luce raised an eyebrow. Is that right? My bet's on 10 seconds. 10 seconds. The floor record is 2 minutes, Jin warned. Luce just smiled. Life's a gamble, Jin. Let the dice roll. A massive werewolf brimming with raw power and speed lunged from the shadows. Minchul just gave a cold, effortless smirk. With the beast's stats exposed, he had the edge. His power had already doubled, making this fight purely academic. This wasn't a fight, it was a warm-up. As the wolf lunged, Minchul manifested a glowing energy spear ready to strike. He struck with lethal precision, leaving the spectators speechless. Luce's voice chimed in with the official battle report. Stage 1, cleared. Mana refilled, health restored, and all fatigue vanished. He was back to peak condition instantly. Next round in 10 minutes. Or say, skip, to keep the blood flowing. Minchul didn't even have to think. I'm barely sweating. Skip. He deleted the second floor harpy in seconds, before shouting the command again. Stage 4. Skelly Loose started, but the monster was already dust. Skip Minchul roared, moving like a blur. Next stage, Minchul pulverized his foe instantly. Skip. He was starting to think the tower's hype was fake. Were the rumors just cap? Stage 7 Loose announced, but Minchul was already on to the next one. He didn't even wait for the monsters to spawn. 8-9 Minchul tore through them all like a god. Are there any real challengers here? He sighed. Jin gaped, wondering if his eyes were actually failing him. I thought my vision glitched too, Luce whispered. 10 stages in 10 seconds, a legendary new record was born. Rankers never pull this off, Jin yelled. Is that why you're obsessed? Luce smiled. Her instincts were always 100% correct. Detecting her silhouette wasn't luck. Usually when the tower's blinding registration light hits, a candidate's senses are instantly paralyzed. The registration process typically locks down every sense, leaving newcomers helpless. But Minchul, he was built different. A long time ago, she had endured this exact same trial. This process should have stripped him of all feeling, yet he defied every logic known to man. Where did he originate? She whispered, sensing a power that could devastate the mortal realm. Stage 48 cleared. The dark illusions vanished. To proceed instantly, the word was skip. Skip, Minchul commanded. Surveying the endless void, he wondered if this nightmare had an end. The thrill finally kicked in as monsters with god-tier stats began to emerge. He felt his own limits breaking. The system announced a 2.5% experience gain. Experience climbed to 3%, then 3.5. Minchul smirked, the rewards were delicious. He prayed the grind would never cease. Stage 49 appeared. The target, a vagabond. System alert, the vagabond possesses 300 strength and 350 agility points. This warrior was a master of all trades, wielding fast swordsmanship and the ultimate blade dance. It has been ages since a mortal reached me, the vagabond spoke. Minchul blinked in surprise. You can actually talk, indeed, the vagabond replied. Minchul braced himself. The real test began now. The warrior leveled his blade, inviting a duel. Minchul analyzed his opponent with a predator's gaze. His style is lightning fast, designed to suffocate the opponent with sheer relentless pressure. To break him, I must crush his speed with overwhelming power. The 5-tiger blade was active. Steel clashed against steel. You actually blocked that, the vagabond asked, eyes widening in shock. Leaping back, the warrior admitted he had faced many legends, but never a monster like him. Should I take that as a compliment? Minchul asked. The vagabond nodded, mentioning the 7. The 7 sounds edgy. Minchul launched himself off the ground, a blur of pure aggression. Their blades locked again. The vagabond screamed internally, terrified by the raw power vibrating through his hilt. Minchul sneered. Buzzing around me like a fly won't save you. Is that all you've got? Initially, 1 hit seemed enough. Now, as he swung again, he counted. That makes 2. Impossible, the vagabond gasped, feeling his grip falter. Minchul's eyes grew cold. 3. Another strike landed, drawing a scream. Despite the vagabond's superior stats, Minchul didn't stop swinging. The secret was the combo stacking consecutive strikes to multiply his destructive output exponentially. Chaos beats raw strength every time. His ancient celestial art buff surged by 40%. Consecration hit 50%. 1 drop of chaos energy outweighed 3 levels of mana. With these buffs, stats are just numbers. The vagabond confessed only 7 others had ever won. Only 7? Are these the same rulers you mentioned before? Minchul questioned. Yes, they dominate the tower, the vagabond replied, wondering if this boy could survive the finality. After a final exchange of steel, the system chimed, Stage 49 successfully completed. 10 minutes until the finale. To skip the wait and face destiny, say the word. The final boss, skip it. A pillar of divine lightning scorched the earth before him. A nightmare legion. You've got to be kidding me. A wall of mana-clad knights materialized. System warning, you are facing a 100-man legion. Every single soldier has maxed out stats. 100 against 1. Minchul grinned. That's a perfect number for a hero's legend. They have the same stats as me. Are they really trying to win through sheer numbers? Not quite. As he watched, the legion began layering complex blessings and buffs upon themselves. No time to waste. I have to take out the supports first, the ones buffing the front lines. Fireballs and water arrows rained down in a chaotic storm. Minchul danced through the explosions. The air grew heavy with sneak attacks, sorrow strikes, and the dreaded seal of slowness. They're stacking every debuff in the book just to keep me from moving, Minchul growled. System alert, seal of slowness active. Agility has been reduced by 10%. Blindness took his sight, but the divine flame erupted, purifying his body and restoring his vision. The Legion gasped. Is the curse broken? Minchul smirked, knowing mass combat dynamics better than anyone. Most squads leave openings without realizing, but these veterans, they were supposed to be flawless. If the 7 missed this chance that was on them, Minchul lunged his blade, screaming through the air. In this game, one brainless move equals a death sentence. The kill counter began to tick, 97, 96, 94. He blitzed through their ranks, weaving a dance of death. Why dodge everything when you can just tank for a better angle? High-level combat requires sacrifice, or they'd just adapt. Targets closing in, the mages shrieked from the rear. Form a perimeter, shield the casters. Minchul clicked his tongue as they scrambled into a desperate formation. Firestorm ice spear staves flared with mana. Minchul vaulted over the front line as spells tore the earth apart. God of War, a legendary title reserved for the demon who reigns supreme over the battlefield's bloody peak. Blood and sweat bought that crown. Hold the line, they roared, but Minchul only needed one tiny crack. One shift in weight and their impenetrable fortress would crumble like glass. They popped solid shield and unshakable defense. Pathetic. He unleashed a whirlwind of steel, ignoring their armor. He wasn't aiming to kill, not yet. He just needed a single opening. Flames roared around him, but he sprinted through the heat, closing the gap instantly. Too slow, he hissed, eyes gleaming. In this realm, speed is the only king. The system feed went haywire as the Legion's numbers plummeted. 69 left, and the slaughter was just beginning. Cosmic energy 215 out of 1,400. All right, Minchul muttered, now the fun starts. With the heavy hitters neutralized, it was time to harvest vital spots. This was no longer a fight, it was a cleanup. The mages are wiped, a soldier screamed. New strategy, Minchul laughed. 69 versus 1, and you're freezing up. What's wrong? Become statues. He charged a literal blur of lethal intent. If you won't come to me, then I'll bring the end to you. The counter dropped to 54 in a heartbeat. Seconds later, only 21 remained. Then just one survivor trembling. Impossible. One man defeated the entire legion. Is that supposed to be impressive? Minchul asked coldly. Time to go. One swing, one final agonizing scream. At least you tried, he whispered, as the body hit the dirt. The system flashed a final update. 0 legionnaires remain. Jian stared at the carnage, voice cracking insanity. The legion actually fell. Luce watched her expression unreadable. Had she seen this coming, even her expectations couldn't match this absolute dominance. The legion wasn't just an army. They were high-ranking undead bound by a hive mind of pure vengeance. Human armies make mistakes, but the legion is a single perfect killing machine. A monster with 1,000 blades. They were undefeated until they met him. The system chimed. Trial of battle completed. Floor 0 trial rank 1 achieved. He had officially shattered every record in the tower. The leaderboard updated: first place Jian Minchul. Second place, the Demon King. The 7 Emperors. Minchul scoffed at the empty list. Big names for a bunch of guys who didn't even make the cut. Sounds cool on paper, but reality hits different. The system announced a feat never before seen in history. His name was etched into the tower's eternal archives, a reward for rewriting the laws of combat. Reward, 1 million points. Minchul paused, blinking at the screen. 1 million. What's the conversion rate here? The tower's universal currency. He weighed the number. Was this the jackpot, or just pocket change for a legend? Either way, it felt like a win. Suddenly, Luce materialized behind him like a ghost, offering her congratulations. Yeah, thanks, Minchul started, then jumped back with a startled shout. He spun around, heart racing. How did he miss her? Was it a system perk, or was the manager just that cracked? The unknown variables were starting to annoy him. Luce tilted her head. You look grumpy for someone who just won. I'm fine, he grunted, shaking off the chill. Luce just giggled. In that case, let's get to the real prize. Radiant energy flooded his veins, illuminating the dark chamber. Whoa, what are you doing? A mythic-ranked world stone manifested, a literal catalyst of creation, pulsing with raw, ancient power. A smirk tugged at his lips. A world stone, a pebble, capable of forging entire dimensions. It was too small to birth a whole world, sure, but its latent energy was still off the charts. Consider this your ground floor clear bonus, Lu smiled. Minchul's jaw dropped. Wait, the whole floor. The tower manager was clueless about the prize. Isn't he supposed to be omniscient? Lucia countered. The tower hides endless enigmas. The manager merely sees the surface. Even if this artifact isn't of Earth, does he know? Minchul pondered deeply. He has his own intel. He thought, there's no reason to reveal my secrets. Lucia gestured wildly and declared, regardless, he's fully aware of its true nature. This reward is an absolute anomaly, dwarfing the value of every other floor's treasure. No prize outshines this stone, she claimed. Refine it, and you create a god-tier artifact. It could reach transcendental or even mythical rank. Only 15 such legends exist. Transcendental sits below mythic, yet only 100 items hold that title, Lucia explained. If he commissions a master craftsman from the tower, Minchul cut her off sharply. I have no need for a weapon, Lucia insisted, but that's the world stone's peak utility. Minchul felt his current blade sufficed. He envisioned a far more radical path. He crushed the gem barehanded. Lucia shrieked, Test subject, have you lost your mind? She thought, this psycho, he just vaporized a fortune. Shards erupted everywhere. Glittering dust filled the air. Minchul sat, sensing the universe's energy aligning with his soul. The world stone pulsed with the raw primal power of the very first dawn. He was attempting the impossible. He wasn't crafting a tool. He was devouring the stone. Lucia stammered. What's happening? A violent vortex of mana began warping the room. Minchul funneled the world stone's creative essence directly into his mental landscape. A microcosmos ignited. The system chimed. Ancient celestial art mastery is surging. Mastery increased by 15%. Then another 10% jump followed instantly. The ancient celestial art reached new heights. Minchul gritted his teeth in focus. He couldn't consume it all yet. He'd only digested a mere 1%. This is my current ceiling. If I push harder, my soul might literally explode. At least a sun had formed within. Mastering this heat would make him unstoppable. Objective 1 complete. The system flashed. The ancient celestial art is boundless. This breathing technique constructs a miniature universe within the practitioner's own psyche. It anchors itself in the high-dimension consciousness known as the upper meridian. By absorbing the waves of celestial light and dark, one commands the heavens. Reaching 4 stars unlocks true energy activation. At 2 stars, universal power rises 30%. That's a massive buff. The energy of the universe swells by 30%. At 3 stars, that power boost jumps to a staggering 40% total. Upon hitting 4 stars, energy consumption drops by 30%. Pure efficiency. Combat recovery speed increases by 9 points. The universe's power hits 2,500. Total energy capacity skyrocketed to 4,500 points. Absolute madness. Minchul grinned. 2 stars jumped straight to 4. I can feel the power. Lucia gasped. Test subject, what did you do? I saw you shatter it. How are you still standing? Minchul turned. I assimilated it. Just a taste. Lucia stood frozen. Such a feat was unheard of. How did he even conceive this? Minchul shrugged. Maybe it was just instinct. The mechanics were a mystery even to him. Lucia sensed no deception. To conquer the 100th floor, he clearly possessed hidden depths. She admitted her belief, claiming her own genius allowed her to recognize his potential. She tossed him a jagged rock. Catch. Minchul grabbed it, eyeing the strange gift. A token of my interest, she teased. Minchul frowned. I'm not looking for fans. You'll need it later, she smirked. Minchul activated Eyes of Truth. The system identified an Oron fragment of legendary rank. Hidden in the 3rd floor treasury, this key unlocked unimaginable wealth. This gets better by the minute, Minchul thought, eyeing the potential loot. He tucked it away as a souvenir. Lucia laughed. What a cheeky brat. Minchul headed for the stairs, his eyes fixed solely on the summit. The path ahead remains a mystery, but the first step is taken. What terrors await him? Suddenly, the system flickers to life. Floor 1 trial. The scorching desert. Objective survival. A hellscape where days burn like fire and nights freeze the soul. Only the strong endure. To escape, he must locate the hidden passage. Isn't this a bit much? He mutters. Without the universe's energy, this wasteland would be his grave. He can barely stand. New terrain discovered. The system pings. His exploration progress barely nudges forward. 0.01%. Is this a joke? Suddenly, a monster shrieks from the shadows. Minchul strikes like lightning, silencing the beast instantly. Shut up, he growls, eyes cold. He's walked for miles, yet the progress bar mocks him. Exhaustion begins to cloud his mind. Why is the 1st floor this brutal? He fumes. Just let me crush some monsters already. After another skirmish, he collapses, panting. Ridiculous. He grabs a ration of fried rice. A quick meal before the grind resumes. To his surprise, it actually tastes decent. Military rations have definitely improved. Yet the weight of the task ahead remains heavy. Total exploration 0.2%. The real goal isn't mapping, it's finding the exit. Somewhere in this infinite sand lies the second floor. It's either luck or a long haul. Movement ahead. Dark silhouettes flicker. Stay right there, he commands, gripping his weapon. He expects a fight, but a man raises his hands. Easy, kid. We're not here for blood. We're traitors, not killers. Put the spear down. Minchul narrows his eyes. A deal. You just cleared floor 0, right? The man asks. Minchul nods, sensing a hidden trap. Trade us your food, and we'll give you the coordinates to the second floor exit. Minchul smirks, scanning their faces. He sees right through their desperate, shifting gazes. If you know the way, why are you still rotting here? You think I'm that stupid? We're going, eventually, the man scoffs. We just need more time to farm the hidden quests. Every floor has secret objectives for extra rewards. It's the only way to get stronger. We need your rations to stay here longer. It's a win-win. Minchul remains skeptical. It sounds plausible, but in this tower, trust is a luxury that gets people killed. What's stopping you from giving me a fake map, he challenges. The man sighs deeply. We'll give you our official map data. It shows every path we've already cleared. It's a guaranteed shortcut to the next floor. Minchul's interest peaks. A map feature. You didn't know, the man laughs. It reveals every inch of the floor you've stepped on. Why didn't the system mention this? The man watches him, a predatory glint in his eyes. This newbie is clueless and weak. So he grins. Do we have ourselves a deal? Not bad, Minchul replies. It's perfect. He can restock his info before moving up. Fine, I accept. To him, information is far more valuable than a few bags of rice. The group smirks. Their leader steps forward, feigning gratitude. Minchul cuts him off. Don't thank me yet. Dekron. The man's face pales instantly. How do you know my name? Before they can react, Minchul lunges. The group screams in terror as his blade flashes. Idiots, he mutters, looting a key. His eyes of truth had already revealed their secret. Dekron held a rare blood key, a cursed item used to bypass the altar of God. To activate it, the key must be soaked in the blood of 100 players. Their deal was a death trap. They weren't traitors. They were cold-blooded player hunters. They rush him, but they're too slow. Trying to kill me, I'll just return the favor. He looks at their corpses without a shred of guilt. This isn't about justice or revenge. It's about the warrior's code. Traitors and cowards have no place in this tower. Target eliminated the system pings. Acquiring map data. Floor exploration updated. The map is finally opening up, I noted. My exploration jumped from a pathetic 0.2% to a staggering 81. This loot is insane, I've got to check this out. That staircase leads straight to the second floor and the altar. But where do I slot this key? Just climbing to the next floor sounds like a drag. I need something to spice things up. If the entry requirements for this key are this steep, the payoff must be legendary. I just need one more partner to pull this off. I'm sure some unlucky soul will cross my path soon. Approaching the massive stairs, I couldn't help but let out a dry laugh. Seriously, not a single living soul in sight, just me and a mountain of monster corpses I've left behind. I guess the massive XP dump should be enough to keep me happy for now. Time to head up and scout the perimeter. I realize something: the key is just a shortcut to bypass the test. If I can crush the trial itself, the key becomes irrelevant. I wonder what kind of hell awaits. Suddenly, the system flared to life. Trial Tower, Floor 1. Bonus quest, the Nameless God's Altar. This place is cursed. A savage relic from an era where humans were butchered as sacrifices to summon a dark deity. Though the god is long gone, the altar still hums with a terrifying, lingering divine energy. To claim the god's relic, I have to survive the guardian protecting this sacred ground. The mission is simple: conquer the altar's trial. But there's a catch: it only opens once every 10 days. The prize, 10,000 points and a heart crystal. Once every 10 days, I muttered, eyes widening at the reward. No time limit, huh? Crushing this trial is way more efficient than wasting time crafting that key. 10,000 points is massive. If I got 1,000,000 from training, does 10,000 even matter? Before I could finish that thought, a blinding light erupted nearby. Did someone beat me to it? I spun around, coming face to face with a guy whose presence screamed, danger. This dude is on another level. The system identified him: Raoul de Goldrian, race Draconian, age 111 years, master of both melee and magic. His special traits were hidden: a Draconian, a Dragon Man. Even at over a century old, he's basically just a teenager for his race. Yet his mana is suffocating. Is this a nightmare? He's a total wild card I didn't plan for. At my current level, a direct fight is suicide. Draconians replaced the Blood Dragons. Even their youths can swat demons like flies. They live by a strict code of honor and strength, obsessed with the idea of a fair fight. In that sense, we're a bit alike. I actually got along with their kind in my past life. That's how I know their secrets. They're simple-minded justice junkies and surprisingly clumsy when dealing with anything dishonorable. If I play my cards right, I can skip the drama. I can wrap this up without breaking a sweat. I am Raoul de Goldrian, he announced, voice booming. Descendant of the glorious golden race. I kept it cool. I'm John Minchul, just a human. Raoul reached out, his expression stern. I'll give you some advice, human, even though we just met. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, let's hear it. Walk away from the altar, Raoul warned. This trial is far beyond the reach of an earthling like you. I almost burst out laughing. Is this brat really trying to lecture me? He clearly thinks I'm a goner. Is this a play to keep the loot for yourself? I challenged. Raoul didn't flinch. I speak only out of concern for your life, he replied, with dead seriousness. He wasn't bluffing. If he thought I was a threat, he would have challenged me right here. He genuinely thinks I'm too weak to survive. If he didn't care, he'd just let me walk into a meat grinder. Perfect. This gives me the opening I need for a backup plan. If you're so worried, I smirked, why don't you back me up when things get ugly? Raoul hesitated, weighing my words. And if we win, the bonus quest reward is all yours. I thought to myself, if he buys this, he's a total moron. If he says no, he's a coward. It sounds like a fair deal, but I'm essentially hiring a legendary bodyguard for free. Only a draconian with their twisted sense of fairness would fall for this. Raoul let out a short laugh. Very well. I won't rob you of your chance to lead. You're a clever earthling. I suppressed a grin. This proud fool actually swallowed the bait. Deal. I trust you've got my back, I said, initiating the trial. The system pinged immediately with the quest details. The bloody key isn't finished yet, but that's just the lock. The real challenge is about to begin. Do you wish to start the trial without a sacrifice? The system asked. I smirked. Is that even a question? Hell yes. The lock clicked open, and the system roared. The altar guardian has arrived. I stared at the monstrosity emerging from the shadows. A guardian. No way. That's a fallen beast. The demonic terror pandemonium. The monster let out a bone-chilling growl as the system confirmed battle with the guardian commenced. I don't know who this nameless god is, but using a pandemonium demon as a guardian is insane. But this is my moment. I gripped my sword, feeling the power surge. First form of the 7-star demon sword. Let's go. A blade to cleave the heavens, Minchiel mused. Facing him was the pandemonium hound, a depraved calamity. Its strategy, pure brutality. It lunges forward, lashing out with parasitic tentacles. Some limbs possess a terrifying trait. They memorize their victim's mana signature. Once locked on, they strike relentlessly. Severing these appendages does 0 damage to the core, turning the fight into a lethal marathon. The beast waits for its prey to wither away. However, instant regeneration drains massive amounts of raw mana and stamina. This recovery phase creates a fatal gap in its guard. Minchiel sliced through the limbs, sensing the perfect opening. It was time to strike the heart. He lunged forward, sword humming as a system notification flashed before his eyes. The depraved calamity is overwhelmed by suppressive energy. The beast has been completely paralyzed. 7-star demonic sword second form shooting star Minchiel delivered a devastating blow straight to the monster's skull. As it collapsed, Raoul watched in disbelief. He never imagined such an easy victory. He activated the Wise King's mind's eye. This rare draconian leadership trait allows one to peer into the very essence of a creature's mana. By reading the mana's hue and volume, one can gauge true power. He still couldn't fathom how Minchiel crushed the hound. With such average stats, this outcome seemed impossible. Raoul desperately needed that heart crystal. If it came to it, Minchiel stared at the carcass dissatisfied. He'd hoped for a one-shot kill. Was the second form really his current limit? Without the World Stone's power, he'd be struggling. Thankfully, his dark energy reserves had surged by over 200%. Energy drain dropped by 30%, but his underwhelming physical vessel still blocked him from using high-tier martial arts. Only one path remained. He tested his blade against the monster's flesh, preparing to execute the paralyzed beast. The depraved creature was finished. A system alert confirmed an 8.5% experience boost. A sharp sting pierced Minchiel's palm. He glanced down at the glowing mark. There you are, he whispered. The sigil on his hand pulsed with light. He had finally unlocked the second tier of the Black Star's authority. The Black Star rivaled mythic-tier artifacts, holding the divine power to morph into any weapon imaginable. Its lethality scaled with the user, but for now, Minchiel was stuck at the level of a common C-ranker. Whatever triggered this awakening didn't matter. Passing up this opportunity would be a sin. As the Black Star grows, his combat potential will skyrocket, allowing him to crush any nightmare the tower throws his way. The catch: the insane resources required to max out the star's potential. He wouldn't find those rare materials here, not on the tower's first floor anyway. He'd have to wait. Suddenly another system prompt chimed in. The Guardian was officially slain. Finally, Minchiel muttered. For completing the bonus quest, he earned 10,000 points, plus a heart crystal. This trial was now locked for 240 hours before it could be challenged again. Notification: you've obtained a unique rank heart crystal. It possesses a durability of 300 points. Formed from the crystallization of 1,000 souls, a potent, vengeful spirit hissed within the cursed gem. A heart crystal, Minchiel mused. It was redundant after the World Stone. Raoul stepped forward, his voice trembling. Is that the crystal? The bonus reward, right, the Draconian pressed. Minchiel noted the naked greed shimmering in Raoul's eyes. He was barely holding back from a violent robbery. But why would a noble draconian crave such a cursed relic? Long ago, a demon sought to replicate the world stone by grinding countless lives into a dark, concentrated slurry. Their life forces were fused into this taboo stone. When embedded in an artifact or used as a magical catalyst, one's battle prowess would explode. However, survival meant suppressing the vile corruptive energy within. The spirit's malice was constant. This made the heart crystal a holy grail for any demon or dark practitioner. Those specializing in forbidden arts lusted for it. Yet for dragons with pure mana handling, it was pure agony. Despite the risks, Raoul was desperate. Minchiel shrugged. The motive didn't matter. What mattered was leverage. Raoul needed the stone, and Minchiel held it. Since Raoul had sworn protection, a backstab seemed unlikely. For now. Raoul gritted his teeth, trapped between his honor and his desire. Minchiel broke the silence. You want this, don't you? Raoul blinked in shock, then lunged forward, grabbing Minchiel's arm. Wait, are you actually offering it to me? Name your price, anything within my power, the Draconian shouted. Minchiel simply shook his head. I don't need a thing. What's the catch? Raoul stammered. Minchiel replied coolly. You guarded the altar right, Raoul hesitated, admitting the altar was safe. Only because Minchiel finished the quest so fast. No one else even showed up. Raoul felt the sting of his own near betrayal. Without your support, I couldn't have focused on the beast, Minchiel said. Raoul looked away, muttering, I just kept my promise. Mincho smirked, testing the waters. If you're that insistent, maybe you can handle a small favor, but if it's too heavy, just back off. Raoul slammed a hand over his heart, completely locked in. I'm all ears. Mincho didn't hesitate. I want in. Let me visit Draconia just once. Draconia. Raoul blinked. Mincho shrugged. Back on Earth, your world is the literal definition of an epic fantasy legend. Raoul was floored. You're saying our realm's reputation actually reached a backwater world like Earth? Another dimension away, Mincho felt a pang of guilt but kept the facade. Truth is, most humans think dragons are just myths. Intel on Pandemonium and Elysium is top secret. We keep it locked down so other dimensions don't mess with our business. Elves, dwarves, even the Interstellar Union. We've ghosted them all. Earth's higher-ups have basically banned interdimensional diplomacy. That's why the public is kept in the dark. Draconia might be breathtaking, but it serves a much grittier purpose than beauty. Raoul nodded gravely. Entry isn't free. Only those who earn the dragon's seal of approval can ever cross our borders. Winning over a Draconian harder than soloing a world boss. Mincho played it cool. So it's impossible then. Actually no, Raoul countered. There's one way. Mincho's mind raced. Raoul, the Goldrian. I know exactly who this guy is. A Goldrian endorsement. That's worth way more than a measly heart crystal. Raoul reached into his pouch, a determined look on his face. Fine, have it. Mincho grinned internally. Hook, line, and sinker. Draconians hate being in debt, they always pay back with interest. Raoul offered a gleaming token inscribed with his name. If your heart is set on Draconia, take this. Consider it a gift. Mincho stared, jaw nearly hitting the floor. Wait up. Is this the legendary nameplate? This is insane. Back home, a nameplate is top-tier status. It's basically like having a billionaire co-sign your entire life without hesitation. You only hand these to your ride or dies. We just met this guy as being way too reckless with something this valuable. It's my nameplate, Raoul explained, his voice full of pride. He went on detailing its hidden powers as time ticked by. If it's this precious, why give it to me? Mincho asked. Raoul simply smiled. I trust your spirit, so I trust your future. Your weapon mastery and mana control are next level. Watching you fight. It's not just combat, it's pure, unadulterated art. You read people's strength like an open book. Mark my words, kid, your potential is absolutely off the charts. This is wild, Mincho thought. His draconian lore and Oscar-worthy acting had paid off in the most unexpected way possible. He expected maybe a recommendation letter or some official scrolls, but this dragon man, he's something else entirely. He's incredibly naive, or maybe just way kinder than expected. Raoul let out a booming laugh. Man, what a legendary day. I got the heart crystal and a brother for life. Mincho flashed a smirk, hiding his inner schemes. I'll cherish this. How has this guy not been scammed into oblivion yet? Mincho wondered. Raoul was definitely unlucky to have crossed paths with him. Sucks that we have to split up, Raoul sighed. Stay safe. I'm staying back to purify this heart crystal and power up. Mincho nodded. Man, I hope he doesn't get scammed by some other trickster. System first floor cleared, desert trial complete. Progress 80%. Reward 3,500 points deposited. Option. Next floor or go home. Mincho didn't even blink, heading straight for the stairs. There's only one way. Up. He was still loaded with supplies, so no point heading back yet. He grinned. Second floor, get ready. Here I come. Suddenly the ground vanished. He was plunged into deep water. Bubbles. Seriously, this is a total nightmare. Quest Sea Gems. Welcome to the second floor. Prepare yourself for the crushing depths of the endless abyss. Dangers lurk in every shadow. The sea gems are hidden in the dark, waiting for a soul brave enough to claim them. Goal: collect 7 sea gems. From a scorching desert to the freezing ocean. Who even designed this sadistic tower? Depth: 30 meters. Oxygen: 3 hours. Mincho scowled. First he's baked like a potato, now he's being drowned like a rat. The tower creator is a total psycho. Safe zone entered. Oxygen consumption suspended. You can finally catch your breath. Mincho paused, taking a deep, relieved breath. Thank God for these safe zones. Having the right gear pays off big time. Item acquired: Abyssal Compass. A standard issue survival tool for every challenger daring enough to reach the second floor. It tracks the nearest safe haven. The needle stopped right here. But what's a house doing at the bottom of the ocean? Mincho stepped inside and was immediately spotted. A monster behind the counter smirked. Another challenger for the second floor, I presume. How can you tell? Mincho asked, playing dumb. I don't exactly look like a local, do I? The monster chuckled. Please, you're definitely not a resident. Judging by that look, you've got questions for days. Take a seat. Mincho sat skeptical. I'm guessing you don't just hand out intel for the fun of it. For free, the monster yelled. Usually I'd charge a fortune, but today you're in luck. Information comes at a price. Mincho shrugged and demanded the cheapest item in stock. The monster clicked its tongue, sneering with pure disgust. 5 points. He tossed a bottle over. Mincho wondered if points were the local currency. Suddenly, the system window flickered to life. Purchase confirmed: fresh water from Arlok's shop. 5 points deducted. Mincho smirked. If that was the going rate, his million points were a god-tier advantage. He signaled Arlok to wait and pressed for more answers. Selling water in the middle of the ocean, Arlok barked back. If you don't like it, go swallow salt water and dehydrate. Mincho took a seat unfazed. Get to the point. Any tips from the administrator of this floor? Arlok scoffed. The admin? You think someone that powerful has nothing better to do than babysit a player? Forget it, he's swamped. Mincho narrowed his eyes. Too busy. He thought back to Luce, who seemed to have nothing but free time. Every admin must have their own baggage. He crossed his arms and sighed. Whatever. Tell me about these quest gems. Arlok's eyes gleamed as he began his explanation. The deep blue is split into 7 distinct seas. 7, Mincho echoed. Arlok demanded absolute silence and attention. Listen up. This is the Sea of Silence. Each realm hides a unique gem. If the second floor quest is cleared, the gems instantly warp back to their origins. Mincho wanted the full map, but Arlok's intel hit a wall there. That was all he knew. Better than flying blind, Mincho figured. Then Arlok stopped him with a sly grin. Finding the location is only half the battle. 500 points. Pay up, and I'll reveal the secret to claiming them. Plus, I'll mention a very useful item. Mincho walked away. I'll pass. Arlok panicked and shouted. 400. Fine. 300. Come back, newbie. Mincho didn't even look back. He knew the game. He'd already squeezed more than 5 points worth of info out of him. Did that monster think he was some gullible idiot? He'd snag the local gem first and wing it from there. If the directions were right, the target was close. He tightened his fist. That creature better not have lied. Suddenly, a strange silhouette flickered in the distance. Is that the gem? The system window flared to life. Test tower, second floor. Quest C, retrieve the ruby from an Atlantic anglerfish's brow. Caution, any damage to the fish triggers a location reset. Time limit 5 minutes. Sensing danger, the anglerfish bolted like a torpedo into the dark waters. A race against a fish, Mincho smirked. Bet. Catching this thing normally would be impossible, but the system chimed as holy fire erupted around his form. An aura of pure divinity. All stats surged by 50%, excluding darkness. He lunged forward. He still had one wild card to play. Time to show off. The angler glanced back terrified. You're the first human I've seen who can actually sprint underwater. Wait, you talk. Mincho gaped, accidentally gulping down a mouthful of seawater. Nightmare. Looking closer, the beast had limbs. Another merman. The creature shrieked, summoning a swarm of minions. A wall of fish blocked his path. Is that it? You think these small fries can stop me? He tore through the water. The monster laughed. How will you reach me at this depth? Worry about yourself, pal. Mincho's hand shot out like a harpoon, aiming straight for the glowing crystal. Gotcha. The anglerfish let out a piercing scream. Too easy. The system notification flashed across his vision. Ruby trial cleared. Reward 1,000 points. Bonus 10 hours of oxygen added to his timer. The anglerfish huffed. Most low rankers struggle just to breathe down here, but you're a complete monster. Mincho yawned. Boring. I expected more. Then he realized he could just use his sound transmission skill. The creature mentioned an extra reward for his record-breaking speed. Mincho's interest piqued. What is it? The anglerfish drifted back, its voice echoing through the deep. You'll find out once you've gathered all the gems. A hidden reward for a special condition. Even the eyes of truth showed nothing. Fine, I'll figure it out later. He spotted a surge. There it was, the current to the next sea. It looked intense. He'd need to push past his limits. Warning, water pressure rising. Level 3 shifted to level 4. The weight was crushing. His movements grew sluggish, but he gritted his teeth and dove into the vortex. Just keep swimming. When he finally opened his eyes, the screen read, "You have reached the Sea of the Abyss." Finally, the first sea was behind him. 6 more to go. This place already felt way more intense. A loud shout caught Minchel's ear. Today was the day to snag elite loot at insane bargain prices. Swordfish snout blades cost just 3,000 points. Plus, that guy insisted on buying healing potions from alchemists. This safe zone felt totally different. It was packed like a bustling village, Minchel noted. Suddenly, a voice called out from behind. A stranger asked if this was his first time in town. Minchel nodded. The man apologized, asking for a moment of his time. What could he possibly want? This middle-aged hunter was Gerard, a veteran hailing from the United Kingdom. Gerard chuckled about embarrassing himself again. "Since we're chatting," he said, "let me introduce you to the Abyss." The Abyss, Minchel echoed. Gerard nodded, ready to reveal the secrets of this mysterious place. It's the safest spot in the 7 seas, but it's actually a city linking all 6 oceans together. Hunters failing to collect 4 gems get trapped on floor 2. This city becomes their only sanctuary. "So everyone here failed the mission?" Minchel asked. Gerard sighed. "Every single one." He was no exception, peaking at 3 gems. The remaining trials were simply too brutal to even attempt. He'd been stuck here for 3 long years. "That sounds incredibly rough," Minchel admitted. Now, Gerard warns newbies about the floor's difficulty. But Minchel asked, "Where's the Central Sea trial?" Already, Gerard blinked. Minchel grinned, grateful for the free intel time and savings. He couldn't just rot in a city while overflowing with power. It was time to move. As they reached the water, Gerard offered directions, but then insisted on just tagging along silently. He wanted to witness Minchel's attempt firsthand. How was Minchel supposed to ignore a spectator like that? A special brooch allowed underwater speech. Suddenly, a massive silhouette appeared amidst a swirling water current. "Is that it?" Minchel asked. Gerard pointed to a failed hunter trapped within a lethal spinning whirlpool. "That's it, easy," Minchel scoffed. Gerard countered, "Maybe, but at least you won't die here." Floor 1 was a death match. Here he could spam attempts as much as he wanted. "Don't get cocky," Gerard warned. "The other gem trials won't be nearly this forgiving." Gerard offered specialized gear for the whirlpool, but Minchel brushed him off immediately. "I'm good," Minchel stated. Gerard screamed, "Stop, you're being way too reckless." Trial Garnet Stone. Objective: survive the mana whirlpool. Falling or failing to resist the current means defeat. You have exactly 10 minutes. Let the Garnet Stone trial commence. The test began. Why just stand around waiting for the vortex to intensify? 10 minutes was the goal, but the rules never specified how he had to survive. "I'll just blow it away." Minchel swung his blade while Gerard watched from a safe distance. Gerard expected a violent storm. Instead, everything was eerie. Why wasn't the whirlpool raging yet? As he prepared to investigate, other hunters approached. "Gerard, what are you doing out here?" "Back to mentoring newbies," they teased. Gerard nodded, realizing it had been a while since they met. "Just guiding another brave soul to the gem," Gerard replied. The hunter asked when he started. 2 minutes ago, Gerard answered. The guy frowned. It was far too quiet for a trial. Suddenly, a scream erupted. What a nightmare. Gerard spun around and froze in sheer terror. The vortex was gargantuan. It swallowed them whole as Gerard shrieked, "What kind of insanity is this?" System Garnet Stone trial complete. Bonus objectives achieved. His abyssal pearl grew instantly. Gerard was speechless, while Minchel remarked how roughed up he looked. Maybe head back to town, Minchel thought. Even he didn't expect destroying the vortex would trigger this. Gerard wailed, "How can I leave when I need to keep a hawk's eye on you?" New quest: Opal Gem. Target: obliterate the colossal metal shark. One bite from that thing is game over. Gerard panicked. Minchel just glanced back coolly. Fatal wounds. Hopefully there's even a body left. But these trials only require one hit. Ignite hellfire in the wound, and boom, instant fire show under the sea. Gerard gaped in sheer disbelief. Fire. Underwater. Had he accidentally stepped into some weird cartoon world? The Emerald trial would be brutal compared to the others. Is this the ultimate peak? Minchel questioned. System C-rank Emerald acquired. Objective: neutralize the erupting volcano before it incinerates the entire floor. Gerard shrugged dismissively. Hardly. Compared to the remaining trials, this stage is basically a warm-up exercise. The true threat was the volatile lava. Light work, Minchel countered. I just need to sense the seismic shifts. Detecting underground vibrations was easy. System Emerald trial cleared success was practically handed to him on a platter. Gerard reached out, offering a handshake of pure shock. He couldn't fathom how the kid shattered the record. The path to the next floor opened. Wait, what? Minchel stopped. I'm here to sweep this entire place. He wouldn't stop until every last gem was his. Are you insane? Gerard barked at the reckless ambition. Greater risks, better loot, Minchel smirked. He was gunning for a legendary windfall by snagging all 7 jewels. Gathering every gem would yield 2,000 points and grant 10 extra hours of precious breathing time. Make that 2,500 points in 15 hours. Minchell's mind raced what massive jackpot awaited. Hidden objectives. Completionist energy. He was hunting for a rare hidden achievement for gathering the full set of 7 gems. In 3 long years, Gerard had never witnessed such madness. Should I take that as a win? Minchell joked. Not quite, Gerard sighed. I'm just trying to fathom what kind of world births a monster like you. Monster Minchell's brow twitched. This old geezer really needed to work on his social filter and word choice. Sir. Fair enough, Gerard conceded. He declared right then that he'd follow Minchell through the very depths of hell. Why the commitment? Minchell wondered. Gerard just wanted a front-row seat to see the boy conquer the impossible. Gerard had that no-refusal vibe. Fine, Minchell agreed. Just don't slow me down then, partner. The collection was growing. Ruby, garnet, opal, and emerald. Clearing the 5th trial added a brilliant blue sapphire. 6th was lapis lazuli. Only the amethyst remained. Welcome, Gerard muttered, to the treacherous sea of death. Vibey name, Minchell teased. Gerard's face darkened. Few survived those depths. Has anyone actually cleared it? Gerard nodded solemnly. A select few. The legends known throughout the tower as the 7 Emperors. Emperors, huh? They sounded high tier, yet their names didn't ring a single bell in Minchell's memory. If even legends stalled at the finish line, then the throne was still wide open for him to take. Raw power wasn't enough. Here, victory depended on one's instinctual grasp of the shifting invisible mana currents. Catch you later, Minchell waved. System floor, 2, accessed. The Tower of Trials demanded a brand new sacrifice. Mission retrieve the C-rank amethyst. A bottomless abyss awaited, cloaked in eternal darkness far below human reach. Only those who survive the crushing ocean weight deserve the prize. Objective reach the Sea of Death's floor. This is it, overrated. Minchell scoffed until the water suddenly churned. Wait, hold on, what? He shrieked. System water pressure spiking to level 10, gravity anchors engaged. Player movement has been significantly restricted. The mana became suffocatingly thick. Debuff alert paralysis. His muscles locked as the ocean's weight crashed down. No way, Minchell roared. This insane pressure was trying to grind his bones. Giving up, not an option. Descending fast. 600, 800, 1,000 meters. Pressure surged to a terrifying level 13. Mana density hit level 10. It was monstrous. A single moment of hesitation would let the sea crush him. His organs felt like they were in a vice. He pushed back. This agonizing sensation. He'd felt this before. A flashback of his past life flickered. System, 52 units of chaos energy depleted in the struggle. His reserves were draining. This felt exactly like the 1,000-scale lake, the abyss that swallowed everything whole. Anything touching that water was dragged into the dark. To survive, you had to conquer the atmospheric weight. But wait. Something was off. The Sea of Death wasn't just a copy-paste of that cursed lake's mechanics. It wasn't a forced suction. This trial was a deadly cocktail of mana density, hydraulic pressure, and gravity. If this was just physics and mana, then there was a loophole to exploit. The density was rising. He just needed to find the rhythm. As he sank deeper, the mana around him became almost solid, descending to 2,000 meters. What if I stop fighting it, Minchell thought. What if I resonate instead? By syncing his chaos energy with the ocean's pulse, the pressure might vanish. Minchell narrowed his eyes, calculating. He believed the chaos energy was his to command, but he was dead wrong. It was time to go all out. Sacrificing a limb meant nothing if he could finally master this power. To bend chaos to his will. Minchell's eyes snapped open as a new thought took hold. The Worldstone's power, the wild chaos had finally calmed, though its destructive core remained lethal. It was still terrifyingly potent, just dormant. Testing his luck, he reached out into the void. Suddenly, the system flared. At 5,600 meters deep, the numbers began to skyrocket. Pressure hit level 50. Was this really the abyss of the Sea of Death? It looked totally empty. Synchronization made him immune to the crushing weight, yet an eerie feeling crawled up his spine. Just a lonely mountain down here, he muttered. Right then, a quest notification pinged his vision. A sea gem, the amethyst trial was cleared, granting him the Pearl of the Abyss for hitting 50,000 points. 200 extra hours of oxygen, but Minchell frowned. Was this it? Something felt off about these rewards. Then the system announced it. His clear time was the fastest in the tower's entire history. 500,000 points flooded his account, followed by a mysterious, shimmering rainbow ring. A legendary rank item. 800 durability and a massive 20% boost to every single stat. Hidden stats remained a mystery. Minchell gasped. No way, this is insane. It couldn't top the Holy Fire's blessing, but it matched the Volcano Oath's raw power. Except it buffed everything. Usually the Volcano Oath only boosted strength by 20%. Clearing the final trials was definitely the right call. Suddenly, a booming voice shattered the silence. It's been eons since a warrior stood before me, having conquered all 7 abyssal trials. Minchell spun around, scanning the darkness, but saw nothing. The voice spoke again. I'm right here, kid. The voice rumbled from the earth. Min-cheol froze. Was the mountain moving? Few mortals possess the strength to survive my tests, the serpent hissed. You've done well. Min-cheol gaped at the creature's sheer size. This thing was gargantuan. Recognition hit him like a truck. Jormungandr, he breathed. The legendary world serpent. The beast that devoured dimensions. A former lord of Pandemonium who vanished after a blind fit of fury. He walked away from his throne and vanished from history. Min-cheol recalled the old legends. A dimensional ruler from ancient myths. But seeing him in the flesh was different. Face to face with Jormungandr at last, you know me, the serpent mused. You're definitely special. A demonic soul in a human vessel. Min-cheol shrugged. It's complicated. Why are you awake? Why would a mythic entity hide here for ages only to wake up now? Given his track record, he had a bad feeling. Please tell me this isn't what I think. Not another secret quest, Jormungandr explained. He was bound here by a sacred, unbreakable covenant. A binding oath. Min-cheol gulped. This sounded way more intense than a regular contract. The other party's identity was masked. Luckily, Jormungandr's only duty was to remain in this abyss. Min-cheol sighed in relief. Fighting this titan would be suicide. If it were smaller, maybe. He could have tested his luck. Jormungandr chuckled. In the old days, warriors didn't hesitate to strike. Kids these days are soft. Was this giant lizard actually trying to pick a fight? He was holding back for now, but he needed more power. Fast. In his previous life, he would have charged this behemoth instantly. That massive hide was just asking for trouble. What kind of oath could hold you here? Jormungandr shook his head. I cannot speak of it. He understood the rules. Even a former lord of Pandemonium couldn't find a loophole in that deal. Instead of answers, Jormungandr offered a gift. He began to shed his ancient shimmering skin. Min-cheol blinked. What am I doing with this? It's a cloak crafted from my scales, Jormungandr explained. One seal later, he had a cloak worth more than the rarest ores in existence. Mythic tier scales. This serpent was surprisingly generous to a fellow resident of Pandemonium. Jormungandr choked out a promise. Lord, he will never forget your incredible benevolence. His allotted time had finally run dry. What do you mean? Min-cheol pressed. Why are his eyes closed? As heavy currents surged around them, Min-cheol wondered, did he get what he wanted and just drift off? 1,000 questions burned in his mind, but it was futile. Waking him now was purely impossible. That slumber was likely a blood-bound covenant condition. Silence swallowed everything except for Jormungandr's presence. Not a single soul stirred. Here the mana was suffocatingly thick with water pressure crushing at level 50. This sanctuary eclipsed the gate. As a reward, his oxygen limit was boosted by 200 hours. With 300 hours banked, he prepared to grind. Meanwhile, back at the tavern, the bartender scoffed. Stop hanging with rookies, Gerard, he growled. You got attached to that kid in just a few hours. Now he is wasting tears on a ghost. He did his best. Just let him go already. Gerard whispered I should have stopped him. Then the tavern door swung open as a man entered. Gerard's jaw hit the floor. He's alive, he screamed. Min-cheol just smirked at his reaction. Don't bury me just yet, Min-cheol joked. As it turned out, he survived 12 days in the abyss. He had not just survived, he had evolved. Every weakness was forged into steel through relentless training. His lethal arts reached new heights, especially the Boundless Heavens technique, which now felt like second nature. Between the triple hidden blade and secret styles, his combat prowess had doubled across the board. The system pinged. Strength hit, 85. Dexterity 75, and Constitution climbed to 81 points. Endurance reached 83. Earth was calling. He just needed to place a seal on the cloak. It was time to unleash Darkstar's second tier and check if Marchan had delivered his request. But first, a final goodbye to Gerard. Gerard had already accepted that he would never return alive. He raised a glass to a fallen friend, but the man beside him had already vanished. Gerard broke down in tears. I cannot believe you made it back. Min-cheol stared at him. Will you quit the waterworks, he teased. A middle-aged man crying like a toddler was quite a sight. He appreciated the concern, but his schedule was packed. Gerard wiped his eyes and nodded. So you actually passed the final trial. Min-cheol gave a sharp nod. Gerard let out a joyful roar. He celebrated the impossible. The second floor was officially conquered. It was pure insanity. 3 legendary trials finished in just 3 years. Gerard had never seen a monster like him. He was a freak of nature. No one in the tower's history had ever climbed this fast. Gerard realized it was time for him to move too. Watching you, it lit a fire in me. Memories of his first climb flooded back. He decided to throw himself back into the test. Despite all the adversity, I am going back in. Min-cheol grinned. I will be rooting for you. Gerard shook his hand firmly. Next time we meet, it will be at the very top. Min-cheol took the bet. Suddenly, the system flared. You have returned to your home dimension. Earth awaited. The next time he entered the tower, the 3rd floor would be his stage. Stepping out into the fresh air, he checked the time. 25 days. Everything felt a bit strange. He felt like an outsider in his own world. Then a frantic voice cut through Hunter Min-chul. Marchon bolted from his car, screaming like a madman. He did it. The legend returns. Ellie approached with a gentle smile, relieved to see him safe and sound after his journey. We still have dinner plans, right? Min-chul replied, completely ignoring Marchon's dramatic display. Mr. Marchan, you are making a scene, Min-chul noted. Let's take this somewhere private. They were already trending on TV. Marchon coughed, realizing the crowd was staring, and agreed. Once inside the car, the talk turned to business. The training ground. Is it finished? It is ready and waiting, Marchon beamed. Min-chul paused in shock. Wait already. It had barely been a month. Marchon laughed. We started the construction the very same day. I hope you did not cut corners, Min-chul warned. Marchon scoffed. Who do you think we are? Dwarves. A lineage of master craftsmen. Min-chul knew that with such immense pride, their work would absolutely flawless. Everything met the gold standard. Suddenly, Marchon asked if he'd considered moving closer to the main training grounds. There was no point wasting time in a tiny rental apartment. Min-chul realized the little guy was actually a genius. He played it cool, saying it worked for him. Marchon immediately added a custom residence to the construction blueprints. Min-chul smirked, thinking this shorty had transitioned from a useful tool into a solid, high-value partner. He agreed to the deal, ready to invest. Marchon pumped his fist, promising to source whatever he needed. Min-chul dropped the hammer 10 kilograms of mithril and 5 of orichalcum. Marchon's jaw hit the floor instantly. Are you serious? He shouted. Sourcing such legendary rare ores on Earth was a nightmare for anyone. Even with all the money in the world, finding them quickly was impossible. Why did he need them anyway? These were the essential components to unlock the second tier of the Dark Star. Was he stuck waiting? Ellie stepped in with a game changer, an interstellar union auction happening in just 2 weeks. Min-chul was skeptical. There was no promise the ores would even show up on the bidding block. Ellie handed over a tablet flashing a classified manifest. Marchon panicked, yelling about how illegal this leak was. She brushed him off, telling him to stop acting like a saint. Besides, Min-chul was basically one of them. Scanning the list, Min-chul's eyes narrowed. He knew he could trust these two to deliver the goods. Marchon choked back, tears of pride, happy to be of service. Ellie just smiled as Min-chul scrolled. His heart skipped a beat. The list didn't just have the ores, it featured a fragment of the single key. Now he had a massive incentive to win that auction. Soon after he arrived at the new training site, looking around the facility, he was blown away. It was perfect, exactly how he had envisioned the layout. Marchon bragged that this was his magnum opus. Min-chul teased him, saying someone else clearly did the design. The dwarf went on a passionate rant until Min-chul laughed, admitting the work was actually top tier. Everything was flawless, from the premium material selection to the final structural touches of the building. Inscribing those complex magic circles was a feat even a dwarf would find nearly impossible. He had clearly poured his soul into this project. Ellie mentioned the site was conveniently near their department. Min-chul knew it was a ploy for surveillance, but he decided to overlook it for now. The training ground was just too good to complain. Before the auction, he focused entirely on his cultivation. No gate raids, just pure grinding. It would be a crime not to utilize such an elite facility. He channeled his mana, feeling the surge. It had been way too long since he'd practiced this. Finally, he had a sanctuary to master the legendary techniques of ancient Celestia. The tower was full of secrets, but its floors lacked the stability of a place like the Abyss. Training there wasn't an option. Plus, he no longer needed to scavenge for star energy or mana crystals. He had found a superior energy source to fuel his growth. This new power completely negated physical exhaustion. With zero fatigue, sleep became unnecessary. He could now push his limits 24 hours a day. He sat down, entering a deep meditative trance. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open as he sensed a disturbance. This mana. It was chillingly familiar. Dark mana. At that moment, a figure approached the gate entrance. It was Verde, admiring his own unrivaled talent as a miracle. He hoped for some decent entertainment today. He laughed, wondering who dared to blow up his phone at such a critical moment. The screen displayed the caller, the greatest crimson flame Min-chul. He answered with his usual flair. He acted shocked that the one and only would call him. Min-chul told him to cut the crap. Are you in Yangsan right now? Min-chul demanded. Verde sounded genuinely baffled by the sudden accusation. He claimed to be in Naju prepping for a gate raid with his loyal guild members. He even offered to drop everything and fly to Min-chul if there was any real trouble. Min-chul was stumped. Verde didn't seem to be lying, but that dark mana was unmistakable. If it wasn't Verde, then who? There were still 4 other demons hiding out on Earth. Could this really be a coincidence? Or was a darker shadow finally moving against him? Min-chul probed, still no intel on the other demons lurking on Earth. Verde bowed his head in apology. His incompetence had left him blind to their presence. Min-chul sighed. Fine, whatever. I'll handle it. Don't mess up the gate. Verde tried to reply, but Min-chul cut the call instantly. No more talking. If you want something done right, do it yourself. He had to hunt down this mana source immediately. Pandemonium was definitely up to no good, and he wasn't about to let them trash his turf, period. Stepping onto the forest trail, a heavy, sinister aura choked the air. Who's the clown flexing mana here? Using dark arts in the heart of soul. Unbelievable. Suddenly, a strange shimmer flickered through the brush. Whiz, an arrow sliced the air, missing his head by an inch. Minchul smirked. Someone's feeling brave today. Hidden in the shadows, the archer readied another shot. Lucky dodge, loser. You won't get a second chance. Before the archer could blink, a spectral blade materialized. Minchul countered with lethal speed, pinning his target. Tell me who's the idiot now. Minchul recognized the craftsmanship. He knew exactly who he was dealing with. Dark elves. Violent, arrogant, and annoying. Let's just say they weren't exactly on his Christmas list. As he closed in, an elf shrieked intruder from the south. Minchul scoffed. They were weak, but loud. Their pride was annoying, but their dark magic and sniping skills were top tier, especially in this cluttered forest terrain. Normally, this would be a nightmare. For Minchul, it was child's play. The elf gathered dark energy. Drown in the abyss, the elf roared, unleashing a monstrous entity of pure shadow. It lunged at Minchul. The beast howled, but Minchul just grinned. He knew these tricks by heart. He unsheathed his blade. Slash of the boundless heavens. A blinding arc cleaved the shadow beast and the elves in one strike. Crimson sprayed as they collapsed. Napping already, Minchul mocked. One gasping elf begged, just kill us already. We serve the Great One, the elf spat. Minchul rolled his eyes. This Great One cult was getting old. Fine, since you're so eager to meet your maker, I'll oblige. He stepped forward with cold, murderous intent. Dark elves never surrender. Mercy is a waste of time. Leave them breathing and they'll just stab your back. It was better to end it. Deeper in the woods, he found an old man sitting dead center. He was perched atop a pitch-black seal radiating corruption. Minchul's brow furrowed. This wasn't some minor scout. This geezer was loaded with mana. His aura was suffocating far beyond your average dark elf grunt. Was all this energy coming from him? Something felt off. These elves usually protected their own with fanaticism. A high elf should have blasted him with lightning by now. Why was he just sitting there like a statue? Stuck in a casting animation, aren't you? Minchul realized. The old man was wide open. Bingo! Minchul leveled his sword. Final warning. What the hell are you guys doing here in Korea? No response. Typical. It is finished, the old man whispered. Minchul tilted his head. Finished. What was? By the glory of great King Damos, the Overlord shall return, the elder screamed, his voice filled with madness. Death follows him, Minchul grunted, grabbing the elder's collar. So you're just Damos's little fanboys. Pathetic. He yanked the chain tight. You really think I'm buying this cringe-worthy Overlord propaganda? Suddenly, a surge of mana. The old man self-destructed. Minchul frantically shook the lifeless smoking body. Don't you dare die on me, I need answers, he roared at the sky. Using my name. Idiots. Later, Yumi's phone buzzed. Who's calling now? She picked up and froze at the sound of a familiar voice. It's Minchul. From the exams. Yumi's eyes brightened. Oh, the high-tier player. I remember you. Remember our deal? He asked. Yumi chuckled. Hard to forget. Though I thought you'd ghosted me by now. It had been ages since she'd handed him that card. My bad, Minchul muttered, sounding actually apologetic. Life's been a mess lately. But I need a favor, Yumi teased. Is this about my dating life? Dark elves, he cut in. Yumi's smile vanished. They've landed on Earth. Wait, how could you possibly know that? Just trust me. Is that dinner offer still on the table? Just a half hour ago, he was fuming. These insects were dragging his name through the mud. Before him lay a complex A-rank mana-amplifying magic circle. It was tuned to a specific frequency, meaning this was just one piece of a much larger, deadlier puzzle. Solving this solo was a tall order. He needed eyes, ears, and intel. Luckily, he knew exactly who to call. He reached out to his top-tier assistant, but the line went dead. Then it clicked. The man was already knee-deep in a dungeon raid. It was the same old story. Every time he needed something, it vanished, yet Verde's expertise was absolutely non-negotiable right now. Since he was busy clearing floors, there was zero chance of him being free soon. The guy was effectively off the grid. Furthermore, he seriously doubted the Hunter Association or the Interstellar Union would offer any real backup for a mess like this. The association would likely jump to the wrong conclusions, and as for the Interstellar Union, his only solid leverage was with the Yongsan branch. He clutched his head in frustration, wondering how to handle the looming dark elf threat. Suddenly, a spark of genius hit him. While elves and dark elves share common roots, the radicals eventually defected to join Pandemonium. That betrayal split the race in two. Now it was common knowledge that both sides viewed each other as absolute sworn enemies. It was a stroke of luck that Shinumi crossed his mind. As a half-elf, she was the perfect person to ask for help. With one parent at the Elven Embassy and the other a local Korean, her reach was elite. He finally arrived at the designated meeting spot. He gave her a lightning-fast summary, and without missing a beat, she dispatched an elite elven detachment to support his mission. They were expected any second. Right on cue, several elves moved in with their leader, asking if he was the hunter, John Minchell. He gave a firm nod, and the elf flashed a welcoming smile, introducing himself as Griff. It was a surprisingly friendly first encounter. Sent directly from the elven embassy, Griff's spirit energy carried a subtle, fruity aroma. Based on that unique scent alone, he could tell they were the real deal.